Tipp today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today. 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number. It won't cost you if you'd like to make a call to us. And Leanne is producing, and we're back in our Clonmel studio this morning. Coming up on the show, orthodontic care in South Tipperary is becoming a serious concern, that's according to Cllr John O'Heaney, and I'll speak to him in just a few moments' time. Carer Maggie Butler joins us live in studio this morning. We'll also be hearing about a new research project exploring the hidden tandem burials of newborn babies in Munster. A peaceful protest walk is being organised to highlight the growing dangers associated with sulky racing on our public roads. Joe Noble, my good friend Joe, will be with us just after 11. And a real treat because singer-broadcaster Muireann Nic Amhlaoibh will be chatting ahead of her appearance at Nenagh Arts Centre, but she's the most gorgeous, gorgeous singer. So all of that and much, much more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. Now it's Wednesday, so the local publications are on your shelves. The Nenagh Guardian, they're leading with the headline, Nenag's amazing new home. And Simon O'Duffy is telling us there was a sense of saga coming to an end in Nenagh this week when Taoiseach Simon Harris visited and formally opened the new community nursing home. And on the Tipperary Star, and again they're making reference to the same story in their headline, Delight as Nenagh Care Home opens. The Nationalist, the lead story on the front page, animal cruelty cases in Tipperary towns. Clonmel is preparing for a peaceful protest this April the 11th following a tragic incident that has deeply affected the local community, and that's referring to that incident last week where a horse pulling a sulky on the old Clonmel road suffered a horrifying death, prompting widespread calls for stronger protections for animals and increased road safety measures. We'll be discussing that on the programme this morning with Councillors Liam Brown and Michael Chicken Brennan as well. The Irish Daily Mail, the lead story there, Gardaí could soon record the ethnicity of suspects and those convicted of serious crimes such as sexual assault under new plans being prepared by the government. Of course, a lot of people have been calling for that over the last couple of years. The Irish Independent, the lead story on the Indo today, the government has been accused by Sinn Féin of making hollow promises as new figures show there were 241 children waiting for spinal surgeries, the same number as this time last year. And there's an image from that North Macedonia soccer game last night being played out, a frustrating 0-0 draw there last night, a rather low tempo affair, I'm told. The Irish Examiner, and they're leading with a climate change story, and Anne Murphy telling us that successive governments have given steroids to the weather, allowing it to land stronger punches by not taking action on climate change, resulting in wetter seasons, more intense storms and increasingly dangerous animal diseases. And also on the Examiner, Ireland is no better prepared for a new pandemic than we were before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. A specialist forum held by the COVID-19 evaluation has been told. And finally, a look at the Irish Times. And the lead story on the Times today, the United States has denounced European countries that refuse air access to its warplanes as the Iran war places the NATO alliance under increasing strain, and France drew the ire of US President Donald Trump in particular yesterday after Italy and Spain increased restrictions on the use of their territory by US military. Also reading on the Times today that a 14-year-old girl who took her own life was blocked from getting adequate mental health and social services in her community, a new report is saying. And finally on the Times today, Fianna Fáil councillor said she has resigned from a committee that tracks the progress of Limerick's directly elected mayor after she claimed that John Moran had made a demeaning comment about her attendance record, and that seems to be getting more and more difficult, that relationship between the elected Mayor John Moran in Limerick and the county councillors. So that's a look at what's making headlines today. If you'd like to make comment on any of that, once again you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now this week Councillor John O'Heaney was in touch with the show, stating that the lack of accessible orthodontic care in South Tipperary is a very serious issue, and John joins me now. Good morning, John.
Good morning, friend. Good morning to all your listeners. Thank you for having me on this morning.
You're welcome. You described this as a very serious issue, John. It's ongoing, you say, and local services are completely under-resourced.
Yes, it's become a very serious issue. In the last few months, I've been approached by many parents and families right throughout the South Tipperary region about the lack of accessible orthodontic care that's available in the region. And just having investigated this, I've found that it's a very serious issue. And there is now very clear evidence that the local services are under-resourced and they're unable to meet any sort of demand that's being placed on them. And currently, figures are startling. There's 568 children in South Tipperary currently on a waiting list for orthodontic treatments, which is dental treatments. And this backlog is just not being managed. It's being managed by an incredibly limited staffing unit. We only have 0.8 of a full-time specialist orthodontist in the area, covering the entirety of South Tipperary. And this person is supported by a consultant who's only available once every fortnight. So it's a situation that's getting worse. And unless staffing measures are going to be put in place by the HSE, it's something that's going to lead to further problems down the line. I've had reports from parents that some parents are waiting for up to 4 to 5 years for some of their children to seek orthodontic care. I mean, it's incredible, really, to see such a situation developing. And it's just a systematic failure of the HSE here in South Tipperary. And it's one of a number of issues that are currently taking place as regards, the services that the HSE are providing to us here in South Tipperary. They're very much under par, under-resourced, and putting widespread pressures on parents and families, and families are increasingly being forced to turn to private treatment then, which is a significant cost. And, we're creating maybe a two-tier system where access is only depending on your ability to pay rather than maybe your clinical need.
Right, but don't we see that right across the board? It seems to me, John, that there are very few specialist orthodontists in the public system anyway. Is there active recruitment going on here, do you know?
Well, I've put that question to the HSE in recent weeks when some of these figures became apparent. Like, are they looking to fill more roles? It would be, my opinion that they do need one, if not two more orthodontists in the region, try and cope with some of the backlog and some of the demands. They have said that they are actively trying to recruit more staff to try and clear this backlog. But, the figures are startling, and, it's a case of now, not later. They need to recruit someone in the immediate time frame that we have, because otherwise this waiting list is going to go out of order.
And what have they said to you? What was their response to you there, John?
Well, they've said that a lot of private dentists have actually left the medical card scheme. So actually about 26% of dentists in South Tipperary have left the medical card scheme. I've put this to some of the dentists in the region, and they've cited a number of different issues that they have with the HSE. There's bureaucracy, there's paperwork issues. Now, the HSE needs to make this more of a streamlined service that is going to be, accessible to people, but also easier for our local dentists to use going forward.
Well, when I've spoken to dentists about this in the past, John, and it seems that it's really all about the fees paid by the state, just simply too low to cover the actual cost of the treatment when you consider materials and staffing and equipment and overheads, and of course overheads for all businesses now going through the roof. So, in fairness, it's about finance here, isn't it?
Yes, most dentists are self-employed and they've got staff to pay, they've got maybe insurance, they've got rates, they might have mortgages or rent to pay on buildings. So their overheads are significant in the grand scheme of things. And if they're not being compensated for the work they're doing through the HSE, then they're not going to seek that type of work, and they'll just continue with their private care and their private practices. And it's something that the HSE really need to look into, because we are very lucky in South Tipperary. There is a number of wonderful dentists, but if they're not, attracted to the package that's being put in front of them by the HSE, or if it's not financially viable for them to do the work, then you're going to see these waiting lists continue.
Of course, and the big issue, John, is, I mean, if the dentist that you're attending decides not to look after medical card patients, where else do they go? Because most practices are full anyway.
Yes, that's very true, and there is a lot of waiting lists now for dentists in the area. It's quite hard to get appointments for some of your local dentists. So it's creating a huge imbalance, and people that do have medical cards are finding it quite difficult to access public treatment. And, it is creating an imbalance in a two-tiered system where people are having to pay for private treatment, often at a very significant cost to them and to their families. And, with the current climate and the current economy, that's something that's quite difficult for people to manage, especially maybe parents of children. If you have more than one child in a household, you may have 2, 3, 4 children. Orthodontic care and dental treatments can be very expensive then as a result.
Of course, but the longer you delay that kind of treatment, the dental conditions will worsen.
Yes, I mean, early detection is vital in some of these instances. And in order to get early detection, we need more dentists involved in the system, and it's a major imbalance that the HSE are currently facing here in the area. I put this question to them that they need to recruit more local dentists and make the packages better for them, and otherwise this waiting list is just going to continue, and we're going to be here again in 12 months' time looking at these figures.
Well, you see, that's the thing, John. It must be over a year ago. I spoke to dentists about this and about why they were pulling out of this system, but it appears nothing was done since.
No, absolutely, and that's why a lot of parents are contacting me, because the waiting lists are gone out of all control. If you have someone in your household that's looking for orthodontic care and you're being told you're looking at a 4 or 5 year waiting list, I mean, it's almost criminal. It's a systematic failure here that we're seeing with orthodontic care in the region. And as I said, early detection and intervention is most effective. Like a delayed treatment can lead to hugely worse dental conditions going forward for a person, and it can just increase complexity of care, and there can be major long-term health and well-being impact on a person because of all of that. So it's vital that this is looked at.
But you haven't been assured by the HSE that they are taking action on this now, have you?
No, and that's why I'm trying to highlight the issue, and I've been speaking to HSE officials on this, and I've raised it through representations I've made with them in the last number of weeks, because I've just, particularly since Christmas, whatever's after happening, I've been inundated with phone calls from parents locally that have no way of accessing dental treatment. They're finding that private care is just without their reach in their current budget. And, it's something that I've started to see such figures of almost 600 children on a waiting list in South Tipperary. South Tipperary, while it is a large region, it's not something that you would expect to see those type of figures on a current waiting list for orthodontic treatment in.
We had that story yesterday that a Garda who was chasing illegal scrambler bikes to try to get them off the streets has himself been handed a road ban for dangerous driving. You were telling Leanne that you'd like to comment on that. How do you view that, John?
Well, I just found that it was a very interesting case. I think it's an absolutely crazy decision, in my opinion. And look, this was a Garda. He saw an incident taking place with 2 dangerous scramblers. In his training and in his line of duty, he was working to save people and to keep them safe. And I just felt that he should have been rewarded for trying to intervene in such a situation and not dragged to court and criminalised over it.
Instead, he was banned from driving for 2 years and a fine.
Yes, he is. And I would agree with Justin Kelly, the new commissioner for the Gardaí. He's come out strongly to say that there needs to be a legislative change. The Gardaí, they need to be indemnified when pursuing criminals, and they have to be protected in the line of duty, because looking at that verdict yesterday, if I was a sitting Garda in the area, I might now think twice about pursuing a criminal, in a more risky way, because the fear of prosecution is now hanging over our Gardaí, and I think that's totally wrong. A Garda puts themselves in harm's way to help people. It's a very caring vocation. It's a call of duty to be a Garda in some respects. And I have written a letter of support to this Garda that was sent to him last night. I just felt that he was very hardly done by. And I know people will have, vastly different opinions on this, but I just felt that a Garda should not be prosecuted for attempting to pursue people on dangerous scramblers. And I am delighted to see, I think there's the legislation being passed this morning in the Oireachtas to ban scramblers in public areas. But I just felt that this Garda was incredibly hardly done by.
The irony of it is, God knows you know well, John, on this programme all the time, we have people crying out for policing, for policing of issues that are detrimental to the public. Here we had somebody try to do that, and it didn't work out.
No, it didn't work out, and it was just a very, very difficult situation, and for him and for his family going forward, and to be off the road for the next 2 years as a sitting Garda is going to make his work incredibly difficult going forward. And I do fully support him, and I think that what needs to take place is legislative change. The Gardaí need to be indemnified in their work and in their line of duty. And I think there needs to be more prosecution of parents and guardians. To set an example and to make an example. Some of these minors are getting away with absolute murder, and it's totally wrong to see a Garda prosecuted yesterday in his line of work.
All right. John, I must leave it there, but thanks for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Cllr John O'Heaney speaking to us this morning. Barbara was on to say the biggest issue with the dentistry and ophthalmology in Ireland is the lack of centralised lists of professionals similar to what exists for doctors. When GPs retire or need time off, they can rely on a network of locum doctors to step in. However, this kind of support system isn't available for dentistry and other medical services, says Barbara to us today on 083 311 3311.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. Now, Maggie Butler has been a valued contributor to the show for many, many years. For 14 years, she devotedly cared for her son Alex, who had special needs. Tragically, Alex passed away last year, and Maggie is with me in studio. Good morning to you, Maggie.
Hi, Fran. How are you?
And it's very good to see you today. You're going to talk to us about the realities of being a carer. Would you just remind people of the backstory, if you wouldn't mind? Your twin boys were born prematurely in 2011, Maggie.
Yeah, so they were born prematurely at 28 weeks in 2011. And as a result, I suppose Alex had cerebral palsy, epilepsy. He was peg-fed through a tube in his stomach. In his latter years, he had a tracheostomy to help him breathe. He was ventilated. So he was quite complex, quite complex.
And overnight then, you became a carer, essentially.
Yeah. And I suppose that's something I do want to stress, that it can happen anybody at any time. Nobody chooses to become a carer because it means the person you love or the person you're caring for is sick enough to need care. So it can happen anyone. But yeah, literally overnight we became carers for a child with a life-limiting condition. Yeah.
And in Alex's case, I mean, his conditions were profound, weren't they?
Yeah, they were quite profound.
Yeah.
I suppose looking back, when I list out, and a lot of people say it to me, if you read Alex's notes and you met Alex, he was quite a different child. So on paper you go, oh my good God, like he should be in hospital all the time. And then you meet him and he was magic. Like.
And he was so much part of the family.
He was incredibly complex at the same time. We kind of tend to forget that because he was such a big character as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about the role of carer right from the very start. I mean, some carers say to me, the battle began when it was evident that a child has been.
Literally,
Is that right, Maggie?
It is, yeah, it is. You don't know where to turn, I suppose, at first, because you're kind of just landed into this role and you bring a child home. And I suppose with Alex, we brought a child home he screamed constantly, 24/7. And you don't know what's wrong, you don't know what's going on. So you're in and out of hospitals, and then you're told, you need to apply for a medical card. He's going to need physiotherapy. You apply for domiciliary care allowance. You realise that you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-storey house that's not going to work anymore. So you need to look into applying for adequate housing. So yeah, you're literally just thrown in at the deep end.
And did you have to figure this all out for yourself?
You do, but you learn very fast. I suppose as the months go on, then you're tied into different people. So when Alex was about 8 months old, I think the Jack and Jill Foundation came on board with us, and they offered us great help. But in the beginning, you're pretty much on your own and you're figuring it out as you go along. Yeah.
And the reaction you got when you sought services, was it complex? Was it difficult? Did they make it difficult for you?
Certain services, yes. Yeah. So there's certain things that you have to apply for, like domiciliary care allowance and all those bits. That can be there's a lot of forms, and some of the stuff comes back and you need medical bits filled in. The biggest part I found was getting into the system. Getting into the systems were the biggest part. And then there were certain bits along Alex's journey that just did not make sense to me. So Alex needed a specialist bed, a Trendelberg bed, because he couldn't lie flat. And that bed was available to kids in 4 or 5 different counties in Ireland, but not available in Tipperary. That took us 2 years to fight.
Why not available in Tipperary?
No idea.
So there's no sort of...
There's no joined up thinking. There's no joined up thinking in it at all. It's the same respite services. It's hit and miss depending on what county you're in. You might get it, you might not get it. Speech and language dietitian. I think Alex saw a speech and language therapist once in his entire school life. This is a non-verbal child. Once, yeah, in his entire primary school.
Over how many years was that?
So he started primary school at 6 and he passed away at 14. He had no dietitian locally for about 4 years. You're talking about a child that's fed through his lower intestine, and his feed has to be specially mixed, and we had no dietitian locally.
So again, you had to figure this out yourself.
Yeah.
Did it completely consume your life and the rest of the family? Did it?
Parts of it, yeah. But it just becomes part of your life, if that makes sense, Fran. So you don't realise it.
It becomes the normal for you.
It does. It becomes quite normal, and it's only now, you're going, oh my God, how did we do all that back then? But when you're going through it, you don't. You just do it. You just get on with it.
One of the first times I met you, Maggie, was around transport for Alex and a car that would be suitable to bring him here and there.
Yeah, and that's still ongoing. That mobility allowance, 14 years on, has still not been reinstated for people. And this is what we're dealing with. If you go back to COVID times, when COVID hit and people realised people would be out of work and all the rest of it, the government sat down and said, OK, we're deeming an acceptable living wage as €350 a week. So, Fran, if you were out sick with COVID back then, you got your €350 a week. Yep. Back then, carers allowance was €204 a week. So, how is €350 deemed an acceptable wage when they're giving carers €204? And that's what you're dealing with all of the time.
What is that saying to you, Maggie?
That we don't matter. Oh, we're great, we saved the state millions, and oh, aren't you brilliant? And election time comes and it's all carers or this, carers and that or that. But they're not showing people. I really worry. When Alex passed away, we had a bill of €1,000 electricity bill. And I often think now, if our bills were still ongoing, how would we manage? How, we're struggling to manage now. How would you manage with those bills? And there's so many carers like us out there now that need help. And it worries me. It really worries me. Yeah.
And you feel that there's not a response to this. And, I was talking to the Taoiseach the other day, and I was making the point just about general cost of living. And people's perception is that politicians are living in some sort of bubble.
Oh, they're living in a different world. They're living in a different world. A completely different world. Like, their answer to it is go to the community welfare officer. There's help there. You don't need to be without food.
Well, talk to me about the community welfare officer.
Okay, so community welfare officer, before Alex passed away, as I said, we had an electricity bill of €1,000. We were told to go to the community welfare officer. We had a child that was actively dying at the time. We had to make 5 trips. 5 trips to the community welfare officer, and we got a letter in the end in bold: this is a one-off payment that will not be repeated. Now, there has to be a system in place for kids like Alex, because their electricity consumption is not one-off. Like, our bill this month would have been €1,000 again. So where's the one-off? Like, a one-off payment for what? What covers it next month or the month after, when these people are still on carers allowance?
Well, was that office aware that Alex was dying at the time?
Yeah, my husband got a phone call a couple of weeks after Alex passed away. We notified them exactly 5 days after Alex passed away. Social Protection were notified. He got a phone call a couple of days later to ask why we were claiming for three children up until a couple of months ago, and we were only claiming for 2 now. Where was the 3rd child gone? He was accused of defrauding the state. Now, we've gotten an apology about it, but that is what we are dealing with. Simon Harris does not live in the real world. He doesn't live in the real world. And I've asked these people to meet me and to sit down and listen, and they are refusing since last October.
Did any politician visit you over the years?
Seamus Healy has come to my house a couple of weeks before Alex passed away, and he invited people to come. Before the budget, he invited politicians to come and see carers' lives. Matty McGrath has been a help on and off over the years. Alan Kelly was great help to us over the years. But nobody is listening. Nobody is coming out and listening to sit down and look at our story. This isn't for us. This is for carers like us now. You know, as I said, there are so many people in the situation we were in a couple of months ago, and they're much worse off now because the cost of living is so high. And it really worries me.
Would you mind talking to me about the funeral expenses for Alex?
Oh yeah, sure. Look, the community welfare officer, we were told to apply for a funeral grant for that as well, and that's still under appeal. And you know, you're told, I don't even know, Fran, you're told that you're great and aren't you brilliant, and it's fantastic and look how much you're saving the state, but nobody's showing us that we're great, you know.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because not enough people are talking about it, because carers don't have time. You know, and you've the same people that are talking all the time, and I'm sure people are sick of me on the radio.
Well, I'm sure they're not sick of you.
You know, you've the same people that are talking all the time, and it's not important enough. It's pushed to the back until the next budget, and then it's brought up, and you've the politicians again with the claps on the back, and they're a priority in the next budget. Show us. Stop telling us and show us. Show the people. Help them, you know.
I speak to Councillor Richard Malloy about carers quite often on the show, and the stories are similar all of the time, but it seems that you just don't have the time to be out on the streets protesting about this because you're caring.
You can't. No. Like, if we had been back in October and you had asked me to come into the studio, it could have taken me 2 weeks to organise a time that I could come in, that we could have nursing at home, that, you know, it's not easy. You know, it's not easy for carers to go out and protest and to go out and speak. They don't have the time, you know. But I just think something has to change. And I'm again asking any politician, come, I'll meet them, I'll drive to meet them. Sit down and listen to our story and put proper supports in place. Don't make people feel like they're begging and that they have their charity cases. Put proper supports and proper procedures in place. There are kids out there and families out there today that are in much worse positions than we were in last year because of the cost of living and because of everything going on. Help those people. Show them that they mean something. Show them that they're saving the state millions and that you appreciate it. Show them, you know. Don't tell us, show us.
I can't imagine what it must have been like with all of Alex's various conditions, dealing with the trauma of that alone, but also then having to wonder where the next few bob is going to come
Yeah,
from.
and that's what makes me really angry. It makes me very angry, Fran. Yeah. I just think there was time taken from us that we should have had with Alex, that we had to spend worrying and running and racing and filling forms in and excuse me, I'm not going to finish the word, but that we shouldn't have had to do. We shouldn't have had to do half of that, you know. I shouldn't have to go into a community welfare officer when my son is sick and point out Revolut statements that, oh yeah, that went to my son, that €10 went to my daughter. I shouldn't have to do that. Nobody should.
Tell me about that. You had to justify every Revolut payment.
Yeah.
And these are small sums of money.
€15 to Quiva or €10 to my other daughter, or €5 to my son.
And this was to see if you were deserved.
Yeah, for the electricity bill. We were called in with our bank statements and they highlighted what they wanted us to, what's this transaction and what's this one and where did this go and how much was this for, and
Was there any empathy, was there?
Very little. Yeah, very little.
Were they not even apologetic about it and saying, well, look, this is the bloody system, but we understand where you are and where Alex...
No, you just get it. And again, you just get the letter and it's just in bold, this is a one-off payment and will not be repeated, you know. So you have to, okay, if this is a one-off payment, what do I do in 2 months' time? Because the bill's not going to be one-off. Our income is the same.
But by saying that, that's a shot across the bow. In other words, don't come back to us.
Don't come back, yeah.
When you look back at it all now, it seems you're very cross over it, and
I am.
Yeah.
I'm cross that so much of our time was taken up fighting. You know, that's what makes me cross. If I had it back again, would I do it all in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. But I wish we could change it for the Maggies and the Alexes that are coming up now.
And is it any different for a family who might have a child with very profound special needs right now?
No, it's worse.
It's worse.
It's worse, yeah. I fully believe it's worse. And that actually scares me and it worries me. Yeah. Like everybody is feeling the pinch with the electricity bills and the petrol, and you add that on to people going up and down to Dublin 2 or 3 times a week and electricity bills coming in of €1,000. Add all that on. You know, people are worse off, and definitely carers are. Yeah, it worries me. It really does. Yeah.
And you hear from other carers at this point. You wouldn't have had that much time in the past.
And we've a good network of us that keep in contact. I know of one woman, I'm not going to name names, and she's not from this county, but she was told a couple of months back to cut down on her usage. She's got a child ventilated at home, and she was told to cut down on her usage for her electricity. Yeah.
But how could she with a ventilator?
You tell us, you know. Yeah.
That was the advice
That was the advice. Cut down on your usage. And that's why, Fran, nobody, and I'm putting it on air now, come and meet with us. But nobody will, because there is not one politician in this country that can look at me and tell me that what happens and what is happening and what did happen is right. Nobody can justify it. Nobody can. In the hospitals, the care was very good, wasn't it? I can't. Outstanding. Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. We had a bereavement meeting in Temple Street last week. And his team are just, like, there was never, his team locally, his team in Dublin, we never doubted that they didn't have Alex's best interest at heart. We never doubted it. There was times we disagreed on things, but we never thought it was because they were coming from a different place to us.
It was all for his good.
It was all for his own good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, actually, we met one of his consultants up there, and he said to me, when they see Alex, I suppose they see him very, very sick. So they don't see him when he's full of beans and and I had brought a couple of picture books up and showed them some videos and stuff. And his consultant said to me, you know, there's times when he's in ICU and he's really sick, and they wondered what good they were doing for him. But he said, actually, it was all good, because he really did. Even though he had his sick moments, he lived to his fullest. When Alex was sick, he was really sick, and when he was well, he was really, really, really well. So,
the void since he passed away, that must be, Incredible, is it?
Massive.
Just that
Yeah.
he's no longer
I don't
there.
know that. I don't think I'll ever be the same person that I was before. Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. Yeah.
For all of you.
All of us. Our whole world is different. It's darker and duller. Yeah. He was just such a, I know I say this, but for a non-verbal boy, he was a massive character. Massive. He drew everybody in around him. One of his Garda buddies called it the Alex effect. So yeah. He just, you couldn't be unhappy or sad when you were with him. Yeah.
He communicated even though he wasn't verbal.
Oh yeah. Oh, he could communicate. Yeah, he could communicate and could give out when he wanted to, Fran.
Could he?
Yeah. No, he was magic. Yeah, he really was.
So that void will always be there, I suppose.
Always. I think it will always be there. Yeah. I think we'll learn to live with it and learn to cope with it as time goes on. But I don't think it'll ever go away.
I'm not sure whether you're ready for it or not, but I mean, you would be the perfect voice for carers, you know. Have you thought about that, getting more? I do.
I want to help.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. I want to do a bit of advocacy and try and help, try and change things a bit for them, because it makes me sad to think that there's kids like Alex coming into Ireland, born in Ireland today, and things are no different to when he was born 14 years
worse,
ago.
you're
and
saying.
Worse, yeah. And that makes me really cross and it makes me really sad, yeah.
And then you see the nonsense around the children's hospital, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
You know, the waste and the delays and the...
But that's, like, we started that battle years ago, and I said back then Alex would never see it. He would never, and I was right. And it's going to be delayed again. I can see it coming. There will be another delay on it, yeah.
It's incredible that that's tolerated and it's happening.
But this is it. Well, how are we tolerating all
don't
this? How are we tolerating all this?
If you were building an extension to your house, you wouldn't tolerate it.
You
I'm going to
wouldn't.
say.
Like, I mean, how? This is supposed to be a hospital for the kids of Ireland. And how many years are we waiting? Like, when Alex was born in ICU, in NICU, in the Rotunda, 14 years ago, there was discussions about this hospital. And here we are. How many years later, and they're still talking about delays and the cost of it, and it's in the wrong place, and I mean, it's crazy, and we're tolerating it. How?
Did you ever get to speak to ministers or
No.
Taoiseachs or Taoiseachs?
No. Despite asking several times and telling them I'm willing to drive, I'll meet them wherever, and they won't, Fran. They won't.
And what response did you get from them, Maggie?
None.
But that's incredible.
Yeah. I publicly invited them in at the steps of the Dáil for the Cllr Champions protest a couple of weeks back. Seamus Healy has emailed them, Alan Kelly has emailed them, a couple of different senators have emailed them. They won't meet me. And they won't meet me, Fran.
Why?
Because they don't have anything to say to make them look good in this situation. There isn't anything.
But they don't even have to say anything if they shut up and listened to you.
Yeah. But like, their answer is, nobody should be without food, or nobody should have to choose between heating and eating. Nobody should have to. They don't want to hear that this is not working. You know, that their theory and that their system, it's not working for people.
Yeah, people got very cross the other day when I put that to Simon Harris, and he said, but sure, look, we extended the fuel allowance.
We don't get the fuel allowance, Fran. We're not eligible for the fuel allowance, because we're not on the right payment. Us and thousands of families like us. So, you know, where do we go? So, you know, you tell us, Simon, if you're listening, okay, we're not eligible for fuel allowance. So you tell us where we go. So back to community welfare. It's not working. The system is not working for people. They have to look at it. They have to review it, and they have to listen to the people. And they're not doing that.
Are you calling on them now?
I am. Yeah, and I'm saying it publicly. If you want me to drive somewhere to meet, if you know, you tell me, I will drive, I will meet. Sit down, listen to our story, look at our letters, look at our paperwork, and tell us that the system is working.
All right, Maggie. It's lovely to see you.
You too,
It's
Fran,
lovely
and
to
thank
see
you for the time.
And I'm always sorry to see you upset, and I'm sorry to see you angry as well, even though it's completely justified. You know,
you.
Lovely to see you, Maggie.
You too, Fran. Thank you
and my
so
best to your
much.
family
Thank
as well.
you.
Thank you. We'll take a break. Back with more in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
We've been inundated with text, WhatsApp and phone calls during and following that chat there with Maggie Butler, and we will get back to your response to us, and thank you for that. Breda Murphy, who's PRO of the Tuam Mother and Baby Home Alliance, has recently started a new research project on the hidden tandem burials of newborn babies in Munster in the 1980s, and Breda joins me now. Good morning to you, Breda.
Good morning, Fran.
And thank you so much for coming on with us today. Would you just explain to us tandem burials? What exactly were they?
Well, your listeners will know that the Catholic Church had a concept of limbo. So it meant that if a child, an unbaptised child, died, they were placed in unconsecrated ground. And some hospitals, we don't know how many. I mean, there should be a far greater knowledge base on this. What they did was the mortuary porter took the remains of an unbaptised baby, perhaps, or a baptised baby. We do know that 26 baptised children in relation to Bedsborough were dealt with in this way, and 11 stillborns from there. So what happened was a person died within the hospital, an adult around the same time, and the remains of the child were placed at the foot of the coffin before closing. So then when the coffin was laid in the ground, the family of the deceased adult may have been completely unaware that their mother, father, sister, brother was buried with a child that had no relation to them. And indeed, the mother of the child who had given birth in that particular hospital, she too would have been unaware of how her child was beat. And how it came to light in the first instance was in the 1980s. A mother had given birth in Portlaoise, and she began looking for the remains of her child as to where her child was buried. And they looked at records and found indeed, and Tony O'Brien spoke in 2014. He was then the head of the HSE, and he said that they could not ascertain if permission and consent was given by both families concerned. So we don't know the extent. We do know, though, that I believe that it happened predominantly in the Munster region, because here in Galway, I really cannot find any research. Now, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Do you know what I mean? The fact I can't find
of course, yes. But when you say the Munster region, have you proof that this might have happened in Tipperary, for example, Breda?
The three hospitals that I know of to date are Killarney Regional Hospital, and that was in 1972. The St. Finbarr's Hospital, which is connected to Bedsborough, and the records are there that indicate this are from the 1960s into the 1980s.
Breda, is it possible?
Further records.
I beg your pardon. Was it some kind of misguided attempt to have the unbaptised babies buried in consecrated ground? Was it? Did it come from a religious angle? Is what I'm probably saying to you. Is that?
Yeah, and I think it came from a person or people who thought this is one way to ensure that the child who did nothing wrong was buried in consecrated ground. But by that same token, in 1933, my aunt was buried in unconsecrated ground in a killeen by my grandfather. She was baptised. She had died in the local hospital, as had her sister, whose remains we're still looking for. But she, because I believe my granddad buried her there because it was within walking distance of our home and he could easily access it. And he ensured that my father knew and that we knew, and that ground was subsequently a killeen. subsequently consecrated, not just once. We've had Mass there on a number of occasions. So, but I do think it came from a good place in many ways, that the people who were doing it, which is why I don't want to point the fingers of blame at anybody.
Yes.
I think when we do that, Fran, we close up any discussion we have.
Of course.
And in 2014, the HSC nominated or appointed a liaison officer to help families who were looking for their loved ones in this way, or to find more information.
And Breda, I can somewhat understand with the unbaptised babies. What about the babies who were baptised who were buried in this fashion? Why would that have been?
I really don't know, but the Commission, what it says on the Commission's report in relation to that, the Commission had established that mortuary index cards relating to the 1940s and 50s were held in St. Filbarth in the late 1990s, and they haven't been able to locate them. The Commission analysed the extant mortuary index cards and identified 26 infants and children born in Besborough who subsequently died in St. Finbar's, and they identified 11 stillborn infants delivered in the hospital to women transferred to Besborough, and that was for the earlier period. So, I think it's highly reasonable to suggest that they were buried in this way. We do know what it's called tandem burials, and while it was unusual and not practiced in every hospital, we just do not know if, for instance, it relates to Shanross Abbey, in Rossgrey, which is in your general area.
Of course, yeah. The historian Michael Dwyer, he attempted to write a book on this. He did, in fact, write a book, but it was withdrawn. Why was it withdrawn?
Well, Michael Dwyer was the person who discovered this. He was appointed by the Commission. He was a historian attached to the Cork University. And he discovered, through talking to somebody, that there were index cards in a box related to burials, and that they suggested tandem burials. So he got in touch with the previous director of the hospital, St. Finbar's Hospital, and learned from him that the mortuary man had indeed recorded the name, the age, the child's name, the adult's name, and the place of burial of both in a coffin. And those were recorded on the index cards, and those are the index cards he found for those 26 infants and children born in Besborough, and the 11 stillborn born there as well in St. Finbar's. So there were other information related to Besborough, and he subsequently wrote a book. And there's a lady on Twitter, and her name is Carmel Cantwell, and Carmel's mother had attempted to find her son, born in Besborough in 1960, who died shortly afterwards. And she's asked for an inquest from the state as to why he died, because she herself became very ill following an injection, and she believes the injection caused the illness that her son died of, and caused her to have an abscess that she suffered from for a long time. So she is still pursuing the case of finding out why her son died, and she came back to Ireland and sought to find out where he was. And a nun took her to the site in Besborough itself, which is where the nuns are buried, and tapped the ground literally and said, "Your son is buried here." Subsequently, in the Commission's report released in 2021, as they were reading, they found her son was the only child that died that year. They found that child was buried in Carshill. So
was he buried? Was he buried with a nun then? Is that?
No. Okay. No.
Right.
Certainly not. It turned out that in fact he was buried, according to the Commission's report, in Carshill. They don't name the child that's buried, but they knew through looking through it that he was the only child to die in that year, and the child mentioned was buried in Carshill. So again, they haven't found the remains, but they believe that to be more credible than tapping the ground and saying, and I've seen the nuns' graveyard in Besborough, and the nuns are the only ones there.
Are you going to research this further, Breda? Is that what you're going to do now?
I would love to find out. I will contact the agency, but I would love to find out how many hospitals actually practiced this and where records are kept, if at all. I do believe that records were kept, and I do believe those in the mortuary department who were attempting, who were doing it, were attempting to do something to save the child, thinking that, you know, the concept
soul
of limbo,
of the child, yes,
the soul of the child. The concept of limbo remained in the Vatican until 2007, when Pope Benedict, you know, it was abolished basically, because it really held no weight. And I think a lot of people were pulling away from the church because it didn't just apply to children, of course. It was those who'd taken their own lives, who couldn't be buried in concentration camps.
But I mean, all of that brought such heartbreak to families. I'm just about out of time, Breda, but can I just ask you for a quick comment on what's happening in Bessborough at the moment with the construction of that residential development there, and there's a lot of objection to it. How do you feel about that?
No building should take place on the site without locating the remains of 859 children who are missing from there. Just like Tuam, you know, it's 796 for Tuam, and there were extensive works. Again, there's over 1,000 in Shanross Abbey. And I think what needs to happen is that we need to locate and mark the burial spots and preserve them, so that families can attend there and know that at least their loved one, the space for them is dedicated to them, and that they can attend and bring flowers rather than attend and see a high-rise apartment building. And I think the zoning of that was down to the council at the time. So the fact that it was zoned residential caused the developers to apply for planning, and they were given planning for up to 140 apartments currently within the site of Bessborough, and that is under appeal at the moment. Micheál Martin himself attended a memorial event in Cork, and he lives in the constituency next to that. And he has been in Dáil Éireann for 37 years. So while he was in Dáil Éireann as a TD, Bessborough was still operating. So he knows the full extent of it, and he has said himself that the lands should have been acquired by the state. So, you know, and he is Taoiseach of this country. So why it didn't happen earlier, that they acquired or looked at least. Now, they will say they have investigated and tried to find where the remains of children are, but they obviously haven't done enough research. And they need to do it prior to any building taking place there, Frank.
I must leave it there, Breda, but always good to talk to you, and thanks for coming on with us this morning, Breda. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Breda Murphy there, who's PRO of the Tuam Mother and Baby Home Alliance.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome along to the second hour of Tip Today. Now, as I say, huge response to Maggie Butler on the programme this morning, and you know, most people's heart going out to Maggie and to her family and people sharing stories with us, and we will get back to those stories in just a little while, but on to something rather different now, because a peaceful national protest walk will take place in Clonmel on Saturday the 11th of April at 3 o'clock. It's organised by councillors Michael Chicken Brennan and Liam Brown in partnership with My Lovely Horse Rescue. The event aims to draw attention to the increasing dangers associated with sulky running on public roads, and I'm glad to welcome Liam Brown and Michael Chicken Brennan to the studio. Good morning to you both, and thanks for coming into us today. I think the best way is just to set out our stall. Do you want to take it first, Michael? Do you want to make a statement on this?
Yeah, I will, Fran, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to come in and speak on this matter. This is going back to what happened last week on the Old Bridge and that horrific incident. So I've had a lot of public outrage and telephone calls, messages in relation to that incident, and I've just put together a few words about. Would
you just remind people of the incident first of all?
Yeah, so the incident was involving a sulky and two cars at the Old Bridge across from a local garage there, which is known to Clonmel as Martin's, and it is said that sulky had broken free from his handler, and the devastating scenes and horrific pictures that people witnessed both on Facebook, papers, and on the day have still today. I met people down the town before I came in here today, and they're still horrified by what has happened. So action has to be taken here, Fran, because we can't afford to let this go on for much more longer. And I just have a couple of words that I put together to kind of put together what has been summed up for me within myself of what people have told me over the last week, how the public outrage and realm to this is unbelievable. So sulky racing or sulkies on public roads, it is not a sport or part of anyone's culture. It is chaos, cruelty and a catastrophe waiting to happen. It is reckless, lawless and completely incompatible with public safety on our roads. Every time a sulky tears down a road, let it be regional or local or any other road, we are one mistake away from a dead child, a dead motorist or a dead horse, as we have seen in Clonmel last Thursday. This is not culture, this is not tradition. This is a dangerous, uncontrolled activity that has no place on Irish roads. We have horses collapsing, horses dying, abandoned like rubbish on the side of the road. And this is not heritage, it is abuse. Our roads are being turned into racetracks where at times we can see 2, 3, 4 sulkies abreast across our roads. And we often see groups of 6 sulkies with this behaviour on our roads. These people who have zero regard for the law, zero regard for the public and zero regard for the animals that they are exploiting. Tipperary County Council has a moral obligation to shut this down, not next year, not after another tragedy, but now. And if we fail to act, we are complicit. If we stay silent, we are endorsing danger. And if we delay in doing anything about it, we are gambling with people's lives. And I'll leave it at that, friend.
Liam, what about a statement from you on this?
I'm not going to go on a formal statement like Michael said, but I completely concur with everything he did say. I would say from my point of view, this goes beyond the incident in the Old Bridge last week. It goes back a lot further. I've been horrified by the use of sulkies on roads for years now. I suppose up to now I didn't have an opportunity to be part of any formal debate in council chambers that I do now as an elected representative, so I'm taking that opportunity to try to get that changed. Look, as Michael said, there's 2 motions now going into the plenary council in a week's time or in 2 weeks' time. Michael put in one, I put in one myself. They're both been very similar, so they'll probably end up being put in together. But it's about safety in the first instance, about safety for, and I would say in the first instance for those people who are on the sulkies, and in many cases those are young children. I think it's, to be quite honest, a form of child abuse to allow a youngster out on the road 4 to 5 years of age trying to control a horse. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. I don't care what anybody says. There's consistency needs to be brought to it. There's bylaws in Kilkenny County Council. There are some bylaws in some of the Dublin councils. There are no bylaws mention sulky racing in Tipperary County Council. There's no national framework to do with sulky racing and the regulation of sulky racing. And the other thing is we need to have a common sense approach. Anybody who doesn't think that sulky running and sulky racing on Irish roads isn't dangerous is a fool. And I think we need to call it out once and for all for what it is. It's a very, very dangerous activity. It's been shown to be dangerous. You go back as far as 1996, a young 12-year-old boy called Sean Doyle was killed off a sulky in Clondalkin. He was one of 3 youngsters on the sulky abreast. You're seeing youngsters running up and down Argia Hill, not a head protector on him, not a bad protector on him. They're running up bare chested. You know, I see him running around Waller's Lot. These are just the areas I see them because I pass them every day. But I'm sure there's listeners are seeing them right around the county. And if you be honest about it, we're seeing it right around the country. We need to stop it, Fran, once and for all. We need to be honest about it.
And Liam, why do you think a protest walk is the best approach to this? Because I know that Deputy Michael Murphy making the point that maybe some sort of type of national framework should be worked at instead of this. Why a protest walk?
Of course there should be. Of course there should be a national framework. And you know, and I'm glad that Michael has acknowledged that. But the reality is, you know, this has been a problem for years now. This has been a problem for almost 2 decades. And I'd like to go back to that and something that Michael just said there about the use of it and the cultural use of it. Sulky running is not a cultural tradition. It's not, and we need to stop that, and we need to stop that conversation straight away. It's a hobby. You go back 20, 30 years, there's only been any increase in use of sulkies on Irish roads in the past 20 or 30 years. I checked this morning, the first recorded use of sulkies on Irish roads was back in 1973, and it wasn't by traveller associations, it was by the horse trotters associations. So travellers themselves have not got into sulky racing in a big way.
Right, but horses are very much part of their culture.
Yes, they're very much part of their culture. Yeah. But you know, just because horses are part of your culture, you don't have a right to make it unsafe for me as a road user. You don't have a right to make it unsafe.
But again, would you just go back to what I said to you? Why do you think a protest walk that will have people at odds with each other is the best approach to this?
Because it's about time that people get the opportunity to show that it's not just myself or Michael or yourself or somebody else talking about this in their house or in the pub or in the shop. As Michael has said, he's been approached on the street continuously since last week. So have I, and for long before that. I think we now need to get a large group of people together to show the national legislators that there's both an appetite and a want for legislation.
And Michael, would it not have been better to wait till a proper meeting was had with the various communities on this and to do it in that sort of a way rather than something that's going to be all over newspapers everywhere and maybe divisive?
Fran, I understand what you're saying there, but we look at this, like, we go back to 2018, there was a march in the town and there was a call for an animal welfare officer to be in the council, right?
A horse warden.
A horse warden, yeah. Yes. And nothing prevailed from that. So here we are, 8 years on, and we're still no better. What we have seen in that 8 years is a big increase of the dangers that sulky users bring to our roads. I suppose from the amount of people, I have, like, the public outrage on this has been unreal, friend. I can tell you that now, from people messaging me, people ringing me, people thanking me, people also saying that you've given us a platform where we can talk and speak now. And the reason for this march on Saturday the 11th is to give them people a chance to come out in solidarity with us and any other people that have animal welfare problems with the way that they see these animals treated. It has given them the chance to we can walk down through the town in a peaceful protest just to show the public outrage and realm that's out there for against animal welfare and the entirety of the neglect of it that has been shown between the guards, the council and the whole lot, that there hasn't been action taken on this. Even though while I realise their roles of enforcement and on the council as well are limited to a certain extent, and that's why myself and Liam Brown are bringing these motions to start the work now to get the bylaws, to give enforcement to the guards and the council.
We were in touch with Jimmy Delaney on this, and Jimmy has contributed to the programme many times over the years. He's a settled traveller and indeed is a person who has a great graw for horses and looks after them extremely well. He's telling us about the formation of this Tipperary Traveller Horse Association. And when I read down through what they're trying to achieve with this, it's all good stuff, Liam. I mean, they're trying to put a framework themselves around the use of sulkies, put rules and regulations around this, and to police it in some way themselves. Do you accept that this is good work and, you know, maybe this should be allowed to come to fruition?
I accept his bona fides that he wants to do something, but I don't accept the fact that should be allowed to come to fruition, Fran. No. That's the same.
But I mean, their proposal is to establish a safe, organised, regulated framework that will improve public safety where
okay, should electronic scooter users be allowed to make the laws about electronic scooters? Should cyclists be allowed to make the laws about cyclists?
No, but they should be allowed to play into the decision-making and the law-making around them.
Absolutely, they should be allowed to play into the decision-making process. And I would love if Jimmy was sitting beside me here and being part of the conversation. And
we gave lots of people opportunities.
And I have sat down. I have sat down myself, friend, with the Tipperary Traveller Network in Tipperary Town and discussed this with them. I've had discussions with Jimmy in private about this with them. The simple fact of the matter is, we have laws which regulate drivers on the road, car users on the road, lorry users on the road. We have laws which regulate cyclists on the road. We have laws now which regulate scooter users on the road. Why shouldn't we have laws which regulate sulky users on the road? Like, a child under 16 is not allowed to be on an electronic scooter on a public roadway. But yet a child of 4 or 5 is allowed to run a sulky up and down a road, carrying, with an animal of half a ton, with probably another child sitting beside them. And we want the people who are doing that to be the ones who regulate what they do. No, Fran, that's not acceptable. I don't think it's acceptable. I want them part of the conversation. I want them to come in and talk to the lawmakers and give their opinions on it, the same way as any consultation.
And Michael, some of what they're looking for might be very helpful. I mean, they're looking at the possibility of an infrastructure, training tracks, regulated events that would have people participate in this, and maybe people looking on at it as well as a sport almost. I mean, would that not be positive?
Well, Fran, look, I suppose, just going back, and you mentioned Jimmy's name there, since I became an elected representative, and I'm almost 2 years in the post now, I've been on a number of times with you on the radio here, and Jimmy Delaney has come and challenged me on the radio live as well, and we wanted to set up a meeting with Jimmy to discuss this whole process. And unfortunately 6 months has passed by since Jimmy came to come to make any contact with us, which he didn't. And then there was another request to meet us, and that didn't happen. And I spoke last week with Jimmy on the phone. But as you know, as I said, it's too little too late now, because the people out there, Fran, cannot wait any longer now. They want to see action. And I've been called to the fore on this. Can we stand up? Can we be counted? Can we get something done in it? And that's the real behind it. I understand what they're saying there and the whole lot. But what we will implement, and what the two motions that will bring with myself and Liam Brown, will have a lot of things that will be regulated in horse welfare and animal welfare. But our roads and the makeup of our roads do not allow for any reason to have sulkies on our roads because of the danger they possess to other traffic users, friend. And that's the bottom line. And as I said, and I've said it here many times I come in here, it's a total ban on being on the road. They've done it in Kilkenny. All we need to do is implement the bylaws and enforce them.
All right. Can I ask you, and again, this is a point Jimmy wanted put to you both, which is, the graphic scenes that we would see at horse racing. I think four horses died at Cheltenham, I think, this year, for example. Do you think, are you as strong about that, Liam, about where horse welfare is concerned when it's happening on our race tracks?
You see, the difference, and Jimmy consistently brings that up, and I hear other people bring it up as well. The difference in that is that horse racing is regulated. The horse racing industry do not set out to have any animal hurt, but there are animal hurt in the racing.
But Jimmy's community would say the very same thing. They don't set out to have an animal hurt.
But here's the difference. Horse racing doesn't happen on the roads. Horse racing doesn't affect me. I know I'm not going to be run over by a horse. If I drive down the road, because I know that the racing takes place on a course with the Order of Malta looking after any jockeys that get hurt, with vets on the road at the racing to make sure that the horses are in good condition or as best they can be. So that's a silly argument that's consistently made. I'm not expecting Willie Mullins.
Well, you see,
I'm not expecting Willie Mullins to run two horses around the corner.
No, but I mean, it's around animal welfare. I mean, if animal welfare is important to you, should you call out all aspects of cruelty?
Absolutely. I don't believe any animal should be treated cruelly. I don't believe the horse racing industry treats their animals cruelly. Yes, of course, some horses do die in races, and that's, it's unfortunate. And I know there are some people who do believe that horse racing should be banned. I don't. I know there are people who believe greyhound racing should be banned. I don't. I believe they're highly regulated industries, and I would have no issue with sulky running if it was highly regulated. But just to go back to a point you made there a second ago, about tracks and stuff. If Jimmy wants to run sulkies on a track, he can join the Trotters Association, the Irish Harness Racing Association. They run harness racing, and it's done in a regulated fashion on tracks. What we have an issue with is running it on roads, Because like I said, I don't expect Willie Mullins or Aidan O'Brien to have to worry about running around, jockeys running around a corner on a public road and running into a car and causing an accident.
Michael, what about bylaws? How is that working out in Kilkenny, by the way? And if you introduce bylaws, can the guards police that? How does that actually work?
Well, if you introduce the bylaws, friend, that stops them, and I've been talking to a number of people in Kilkenny, and it has worked very successfully in Kilkenny. Now, here it goes again, friend. You put in the regulation, you put in the bylaws. But you need, I know we're short on guards in our own county, right? But we do need the guards to enforce it. But from what I've been told in Kilkenny, it's working very well. And there will be the odd one that will try and take out a sulky. But the minute they're out, they are more or less taken down again, nabbed and being told about.
Right, so what is the law then in Kilkenny? You can't use sulkies at all.
Sulkies are prohibited from being on roads in Kilkenny. That's the law. That's the bylaws.
And does that stand up in a court?
Well, if a bylaw is introduced by a local authority, friend, and the guard enforcement, it has to stand up in court. It has to stand up in court, like, you know what I mean? And they've seen a decrease. It has worked very well in Kilkenny. Like my lovely horse rescue, who you'll be talking to hopefully as well yourself, will tell you how well it's working and how well it's being patrolled. But, friend, you have to have everyone on board. You have to have the Department of Agriculture. You have to have the guards. You have to have your local authority. You have to have your veterinary.
And what about that, Liam? Do you have your fellow councillors on board with this, or is there division among yourselves on this?
Well, so far I have yet to have one of the councillors come back and say to me that they were going to oppose the motion. They've contacted me about the one I put in, and I know that Michael's one, I'll be supporting Michael's one obviously as well. Every single councillor so far that has mentioned it has said that they're supporting it. I've yet to hear a councillor come out and oppose it. I would like to hear their opinion if they do, and you know that's the nature of democracy. I would like a good debate on it. I don't think anything should be put through without debate, so I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I would love people like Jimmy, I would love people like the Traveller Network to be in here discussing this. But
all right, well,
in many cases they hide away when there's a problem.
Well, Leanna's telling me Jimmy is not hiding away. He's online with it.
Excellent.
Do you want to pop on some headphones on you there? And I'm not sure if I just want to make sure you can hear this. Jimmy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, and thanks for coming on with us, Jimmy. I hope can you hear those headphones, guys?
I can hear you.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
Jimmy, what is your response, Jimmy, to what you've been hearing so far?
Well, it's April Fool's Day. There's a few towns about today. I'll start with that anyway. Now, Michael, you said that you had to call it. That you were talking to me a few times. I only ever talked to you once in my life. Now, that's for number one, right? And if you're good enough, Michael, to go on radio and go over try hold the public meeting to Guinness, what was wrong with you from getting in contact with me? I'm on social media for everyone to get in contact with me. So if you're able to hold meetings behind our backs without any member of the traveller community being there, you're holding a protest. Did you contact any traveller to say, well, do any of you want to have to go ahead and see what they're saying at this protest? No.
All right, hang on a sec, Jimmy. Let's see what Michael. Do you want to take that?
I will, friend. Yeah. No, thanks, Jimmy. And you might remember back, Jimmy, last Thursday night was you actually messaged me looking for my telephone number.
That was the only time I ever contacted you in my life. You said me and you had a conversation a few times. I never seen you in my life, Michael.
We've had about 7 telephone calls over the weekend, Jimmy. So just to get your facts right, I think you need to be straight, Jimmy. And Jimmy, I'd like to see you come out and condone what happened in the Old Bridge.
Oh no, Michael, listen. What happened with the horse was wrong. Like, I know it's April Fool's Day, but I'm not that much of a fool. That the horse died. No horse should die. And I condemn any horse dying. I condemn any type of cruelty to any animal. And listen, you know what I'm doing at this very minute, Michael?
Well, Jimmy.
I've a horse dentist in my yard this minute doing my 2 horses' teeth before I take him to the road in a month's time. That's exactly what I'm doing. He's in my yard as I speak. Now, and you're telling me that we don't care for horses. Now, I can't talk for everyone that's involved in the horsing game. I can only talk for me. I can talk for my family. So I can.
And Jimmy, do you want to take what Liam was saying, that he is doubting that it is part of traveller culture, the notion of sulky racing?
Liam want to pull his head or wherever it is this morning. Listen, I tell you, friend, I'm going to go way back, right? It's the very same thing now. Listen, the time with the headstones. I'm not going to go back into anyway. Listen, Liam was wrong about that again. Said they're oversized. I got them measured. I asked 200 members when you were there, friend, about the headstones, were they oversized? Did they measure them? Every one of them dropped their mouth, all on hearsay. Now, I go back to the submission part. It's called upgrading, friend. So this is not our tradition, right? Can we go along and put a bar roof wagon, what we had 50 years ago, 60 years ago, can we put a bar roof wagon on a horse and begin pulling that around the road? So, right, a bar roof wagon, this is my tradition. Horses is part of the tradition. Sulky is an upgrade farm. You don't just... Horses was pulling heavier loads 50 years ago. They're pulling barrel roof wagons. They were pulling four-week carts, which was they're pulling families from ditch to ditch. Now, and since we're on the subject, listen, Frank, this is not our tradition, right? Do you know the Cashel Museum in Cashel?
I do. In Dominic Street there, yeah.
Now, that got my grandfather's barrel roof wagon. Now, listen to me. My grandfather's barrel roof wagon. And they'll bring the tourists in, they'll bring the Yanks in, all having a nice fancy look at this, making money out of it. They call it the Tinker's Caravan, that's what they call it now. And they will say that the Tinkers lived in this, there was a barrel roof wagon, the horse pulled it from side of the road from side of the road. Now, the horse pulled it. Those barrel roof wagons is going back 150 years ago.
So you're saying this has evolved into sulky racing in some way, is that it, Jimmy?
Friend, if you go back 30 years ago, you had an older car. You have a newer farmer car now. You don't live in the past.
Okay, let me put that to Liam Brown. Liam, do you accept that it's evolved as time goes by, the culture into sulky racing?
Morning, Jimmy. How are you? You well? Yeah, there's an evolution from the barrel wagon. Did your grandparents race barrel wagons down the roads, Jimmy?
There's many time they had a pint and had a race going home on a four-wheeler, yes.
Right, okay. So would you think that you should be allowed to race sulkies on the road now because your grandfather ran a barrel wagon? So sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy, I listened to you. And I didn't interrupt. Do you believe sulky racing should be happening on roads, Jimmy?
No.
Okay, so you're against sulky racing on roads?
No, Liam. Listen to me. You must know the law. Sulky racing is illegal. You're allowed jog a horse, but you're not allowed racing.
Okay, so you would condemn sulky racing, anybody who does race sulkies?
It's against the law. But
so you would condemn him, Jimmy?
No, listen. No.
So it's against the law, Jimmy. So you think they should break the law? You condemn them or you don't, Jimmy?
On the road. I love going on the road, having a jog with my horse. You're trying to bring a full length stopper. You want them off the road.
Hold on a minute. I have never called for that. And the motion I put into the council doesn't call for that. And there again, Jimmy, you're jumping, as you say, you're putting your sulky before the horse there, Jimmy. Now, if I've listened to you, you should listen to me now for a second. Do you believe anybody under 18 should be running a sulky on a road?
No, I believe anyone under 15 shouldn't have a sulky on the road. I wouldn't put no child on a sulky. No.
Right. Okay. So we're now in this. We're now in the state where you believe there should be regulation. You're saying 15. I say 18. You can't drive a car if you're over 17. You can't drive a scooter if you're over 16. So are you saying nobody under 16 should be on a road?
That's a vehicle. There's a big difference in a horse and a vehicle.
Oh, you're dead right. There's a big difference in a horse and a vehicle. You have a lot more control of a vehicle because they're not a live animal, Jimmy.
No, see, you're wrong there as well, Liam. How many people die every week in crashes? See, your words is running away with you now. How many people die in crashes in the cars every week?
Yeah.
No, exactly. So which of them is in more control?
Sorry, are you saying letting a child look after a horse is less dangerous than someone driving a car?
A 15 or 16-year-old is a young man.
Yeah. How many cars? Jimmy.
15-year-old is a lot bigger than me or you.
Jimmy, I'm going to be straight with you. You're bringing in absolutely ridiculous arguments. There's over 1 million cars on the roads. There's over 1 million cars on the road, Jimmy. So statistically, there's going to be more deaths on the roads from cars than lads running on horses. You're saying a second ago there, your grandfather ran bay caravans. That was fine. They didn't race them. They didn't run them up down the road. They didn't use ponies. They didn't use ponies that were unsafe, Jimmy. No, Jimmy. It's about time you listened. Okay.
No, Lee.
It's about time you listened, Jimmy.
You're trying to bring this proposal forward, right? Listen, I put it this way.
Have you seen the proposal?
Just let Jimmy finish that.
Are you going to be the man that's going to face a full travelling community, right? And say, well, I'm the man that's going to put your lifestyle off the road. No, you wouldn't, Liam. You wouldn't do it. Simple as. I know you wouldn't. You wouldn't have the guts to do it.
Sorry, Jimmy. That sounds to me like a threat, Jimmy. Is that a threat?
No, it's not a threat.
What are you saying then?
Yeah, would you face travelling men and walk to them and say, I'm the man that's banning your lifestyle?
Who said I was?
You're putting a proposal.
All right, hang on just one sec. The bylaws, what exactly will they contain, Liam? I mean, what?
Friend, Chicken Brennan and Liam said a minute ago. You want them banned off the road. You want them gone. In your first conversation, that's what they said.
Right, Liam, will you just one sec, Jimmy? Just clarify that for me, Liam.
Sorry, Jimmy, I never said that. I never said that. I tell you.
Well, Michael was talking about what's happening in Kilkenny. Are they banned completely in Kilkenny?
No, they're not, friend. There's bylaws around them.
What I want, Jimmy, if you sat down, Jimmy, and didn't jump up every single time that you felt like people were challenging you, I want regulation around them. I want to make sure that youngsters aren't on them. I want to make sure that people who...
There's a proposal, friend have it and read through it. This proposal was mentioned a minute ago and you didn't want to hear about it.
Which was what?
The friend said that he looked over the proposal that I sent him and he said there's rules and everything gone into it.
Yeah, the Tipperary Traveller Horse Association. I made that point that, I mean, you want to provide training, education, all of that kind of thing.
And safely upon the road.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to hear it. He said he didn't want to hear it.
Hold on a second, Jimmy. That's exactly what that's exactly what my motion is calling for. That's exactly what it's calling for. You don't want to listen, Jimmy. I have a position as an elected representative where I have an opportunity to put into place those things. You just come on social media and say you're going to do it. I've got a job to do it, Jimmy. Now, if you want to come in and help me do it, I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted if you did. But your problem is you don't want any criticism. Okay? You don't want criticism. You want to come on every now and again.
I've no problem working with people that will work with me.
Well, come and work with me, so.
Listen. You can't work with people that's cutting the back of a full nation of people. That can't happen. You can't. Listen to me.
What about the protest on the 11th, Jimmy? How do you feel about that, the national protest in Clonmel?
Look, everyone is entitled to a protest, friend, a peaceful protest. If I wanted to protest down to the middle castle, no, you're breaking all laws protesting.
Yeah, but do you think, is it going to be divisive, do you think?
What do you mean divisive?
Is it going to be divisive between the settled community and your own community, Jimmy?
No, if you're trying a peaceful process. Like if a fella's having a process, you can't just go out and begin causing mayhem about it.
Right, so you don't have a problem with people protesting about this?
But I can't understand. Look, I said here straight up, right, look, there's racing going on, right, in the racing industry, right? That people get killed in horse. Look, I know they're saying, oh, here we go again. Look how many horses in Shelton, right? Look, as far as I know, right, there was a young girl, I think it was last year and a half ago, that was up Leans way, that died off a show jumper, right? There was a horse in Tamil a month ago that died on the racetrack in Tamil, right? How come they're not out doing a protest? Where again, it's animal welfare. How come this is not happening for this point?
Right. Just one sec, Jimmy, because Liam answered that a moment ago. Michael, do you want to answer that? I mean, how do you feel about animal welfare in situations like racetracks and show jumping and the like?
Well, look, Fran, when them look, as Liam even has concurred there as well, this is heavily regulated. Like, it's happening on a race course. It's happening out of the public of being affected by it. Out on the roads is what we're calling here for animal welfare and road safety. They're the two biggest things that we're protesting about here, or what we're fighting for, the public realm of people here. Now, Jimmy has portrayed himself very well to have the dentists in there today doing the horse and the teeth and the whole lot. But Jimmy will also blame a small minority within his own community as to what happened to last weekend. Now, why isn't Jimmy pulling all them people together and saying, lads, we've got to do something here. We can't let this happen, and it cannot be happening. And at the end of the day, if that's what Jimmy thinks is happening, that is the small minority that's causing the trouble for everyone, well, then they need to look at that within their own.
All right.
And that would be the first step I would say that they should take.
Give Jimmy an opportunity to answer that. What about that? Pulling the entire community of sulky users together in some sort of a fashion. Is that what you're attempting to do, Jimmy?
Brian, we're trying to get this organisation up and going. There's already Jesus up again, nearly 100 members after joining already. We're hoping to get North and South Tipperary involved in it, right? Safety is the number one factor, right? There's no kids we have on it, and you're probably right. There's no kids under 16 allowed with a horse in our organisation on the road. So that we put all those rules forward. So we did. We're hoping to have it going maybe next 5. It's just like a councillor saying he's doing footpaths. When you're putting that proposal, it might go ahead for, it could be 8 months, 7 months. But we're hoping to have this done. And who's in the organisation, as I said, has to keep the rules. If they're not happy with the rules, they're out of it. It's going to give us something to stand upon. If something happens,
would you police that yourselves then? Is that how would you police?
I'm one of the main safety inspectors over, friend.
Okay, all right.
So, Jimmy, would you try it for a pilot, do it for a month to say that we wouldn't see any underage children on a sulky out in the roads?
Well,
and do a pilot scheme on it and see how well you work.
I can't, Michael, I can't. It's just like the guards. The guards can't police every issue that's happening in Tipperary. You get me? But who's in our organisation that break them rules, they're gone out of it.
And what'll happen? And what'll happen to them then, Jimmy, when they're out?
Well, when they're out, then is up to the. There's a law there for, like, as far as I know, there's a law for underages and sulkies. They're not meant to be on them anyway.
No, there's no law. That's the problem. This is the issue. This is the issue that you haven't been listening to, Jimmy. What I'm looking for is to put those laws into place. Like there's a law against organising a sulky race. There's no law against participating in one. I want to make it a law to participate in one. There's no law against facilitating a sulky race. I want to make a law against facilitating a sulky race. There's no law against what headgear you're supposed to wear, what back protection you're supposed to wear. There's no law against the condition of the sulky. This is what we want to put into place,
yes, Jimmy. Yeah.
Me, myself, when I go on the road, yes, I protect the gear on me, yeah. I've every protective thing on the horse. Listen, the lads wouldn't know. They just look at a horse going down the road. You have things on the right to protect what they're seeing. You have things on the rear so the knives won't affect them. Actually, this year I went away and got it's a newer version of it's an actual road car safety. It got its own brake system installed. And
my proposal wants to regulate that, Jimmy. Surely you want that regulated for every sulky.
Well, safety. I want safety regulated for you. And
okay, so you're agreeing with me?
No, I agree for the proposal that I put forward to Fran.
Sorry, you agree to the proposal you put forward to Fran. My proposals are pretty much the exact same. But we want to put national legislation into place to put them in place so that you don't have to police them, Jimmy. You shouldn't have to.
That's the point. There's a lot in common with you all.
Absolutely there is, but Jimmy doesn't want to listen.
No, but Fran, I just said, right, when the lads come on the radio, right, they're coming on.
Were you invited onto the radio?
You want this gone. When Michael came on, right, he said, I want this gone off the road. The feeling that everyone is getting, right, and even the settled public is, Michael Brown and Liam Brown, they're getting those horses off the road. They're picking it up wrong. There's going to be legislation. They can't get the horses off the road. That can't be done. It will cause more mayhem. If they ban horses off the road, there'd be this big discrimination case going. They'd have to ban every hunt horse, every carriage horse in Ireland off the road. It don't work like that.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. What would the fallout from those bylaws be then?
The fallout would be absolute mayhem throughout Ireland.
Yeah, what about that, Michael?
Well, Fran, look, I'll just put it this way. Like, if I lose my licence on 12 pints, I'm off the road and I have to obey the law.
Yeah.
And if there's regulations for the sulky users and they're off the road as well, they have to obey the law. And we've got to live by the law, friend. And this is the biggest thing here. And I'll say it again and I'll say it time and time again. There is a certain amount of the sulky users, they take the law into their own hands. And this is where we want to stop it and take control of it being regulated and it being enforced by the guards and the Tipperary County.
All right, Jimmy, before I go to Liam, give me a last word from you, Jimmy.
On what now, Fran? What I say? But I know what you're saying, look, about the horse, right? Look, what happened, the horse and Tommy, look, no horse would die on the track, on the road, whatever, right? But they're talking about a small minority of accidents that happen horses. Like, do you get me? It's end. The horse that died, there was a horse that died in Dublin, that horse called N. Like, no one knows who owned that. The travelling community got the full blame of that. 90% of people in Dublin that keeps horses is settled people. 90% of them, and everyone that's in that area in Dublin knows that. Now, the travelling community got the blame for it. Now, I said this on social media, I'll say it again, right? They said the horse's pelvis was cracked to put it down. A horse recovers from a cracked pelvis, they recover, right? They said the horse was in fall. Where's the proof the horse was in fall? Where's the proof that the horse was actually put down? There's no proof of this. It's all going in hearsay.
All right. Final word from you, Liam.
Look, once again, we're hearing the same old canards, the same old wheel polices, the same old, we're putting travellers off the road, we're taking travellers' tradition away. We're not. We look, a small group of people drink and drive. Not everybody who drives drink and drives. Only a very small group. But we put in legislation to stop it. A very small group of people on bicycles don't obey the law, but we still put laws in against it. We want laws that will regulate sulky racing and make it less dangerous for both the people using sulkies and the other road users. And I think you should be actually supporting us and not coming on and complaining all the time. You should be supporting us.
I must leave it there. So,
Liam, if you can't fight for what you believe in, you're better off not living. That's what I said.
All right. Thanks to Councillors Liam Brown and Michael Chicken Brennan, and thanks to Jimmy Delaney, who joined us there as well. In the meantime, that walk is going ahead. It's April the 11th at 3 p.m. and we understand, we were looking at this morning, it seems like people are going to come from all over.
Hopefully.
Hopefully
I would like to see it as a national march, Fran, because I think we need national legislation as well as the local bylaws, and we need national support.
All right.
Yeah, and I just say, Fran, I urge people, everyone that liked the post, everyone that commented on the post, everyone that has contacted us, to bring a friend, bring everyone you can that has an issue with this here, and they're given a platform there to show it.
Right, but this is a peaceful,
respectful.
Yeah,
respectful.
It will be all
it'll
of
be
that,
well marshaled and everything.
You'll be making sure that that is.
And guest speakers as well on the day.
Fran, this is not anti-traveller. And it's not an anti-traveller protest. It's a protest for road safety. That's as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let me take a break. We'll be back. Thanks to Jimmy and to Liam and to Michael.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Just before the break there, we heard from Jimmy Delaney, we heard from Councillors Michael Chicken Brennan and Councillor Liam Brown. The march we referred to there is being organised by both councillors along with My Lovely Horse Rescue, and Martina Kenny from My Lovely Horse joins me now. Good morning to you, Martina.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. I'm not sure if you had a chance, or could you hear the previous conversation?
No, I didn't. No. I'm actually at the farm at My Lovely Horse Rescue.
Yeah, no,
I heard the tail end.
No problem at all. Will you just tell us about your involvement in this? And when I say you, I mean your organisation. Why do you think this is the best approach, that idea of a national march, Martina?
Look, there will be a national march, that's for sure. But I have to say, hats off to the guys that after that the other day, I spoke to Councillor Brennan, and he then rang me back later and said, look, we'd really like to do this. Would My Lovely Horse be involved? And we said, yes, of course we will. Tipperary is somewhere where it is an issue, a problem, and just like other counties. And we've rescued many horses from there, from just left on the road, same thing, except for they survived. And so we want to be involved, I think it's very important.
And as an organisation, what are you calling for where sulkies are concerned?
They have to be banned off the roads. They have to be. Like the thing is that there's children driving them. Like that was a child that drove that poor horse last week, which was really, really desperate. So that's reckless. And there's an awful lot of reckless drivers out there, that are racing down the road. And that's not right on main roads. We had one in Dublin a few weeks ago, poor Anne, and she was pregnant, and she had collapsed and then collapsed again on the N4, and they whipped and kicked her, and she couldn't get up because she'd broken her pelvis. So, this is, we have to stop it somewhere, you know what I mean? Are we actually just waiting for an actual person to die, which did happen a few years ago in Dublin? A child died, two of them, a teenager on sulky, but nothing seemed to happen there neither. So I think, are we waiting for more deaths, just like roads, cars?
We heard about bylaws in Kilkenny that, Michael Chicken Brennan was telling us there that they're successful there, and we're talking about the introduction of them in Tipperary as well. But is that the way to go? Is it not a national framework you need as opposed to individual counties changing bylaws?
I think if individual counties really put their heads down and tackle the issues within their own county, and then a national of all those counties get together. I mean, there's some counties that don't have such an issue with it, but the ones that do have an issue with it, and Dublin being the biggest, largest one of it, has a huge issue with it. Limerick, Cork. So I think if everybody gets together and really, like everything, the problem is that everybody doesn't work together, and we keep saying it, a million times through the year, saying if all the stakeholders, the organisations worked together and spoke to the people on the ground and really put a stop to things, or really said, right, what can we all do together, this wouldn't be an issue. But no, in Ireland we love to pass from one to the other. Oh, that's the council's fault. Oh, that's the guard's fault. Oh, that's the department's fault. Oh, that's this fault. It's everybody's fault, and everybody needs to finally
have you any concerns? Because I must say I have some concerns about a protest walk that could easily be very divisive in a community, Martina. Do you have concerns about that?
I would hope that there won't be any. This is an outcry by, the public themselves. I know we've had many public from Tipperary itself onto us as well. And I know the councillors and TDs within Tipperary have had numerous calls and letters, emails about this as well. So people wanting something done. And I suppose as well, it's for the life of that horse. That should not have happened, and it was so horrific. So I suppose that protest and that walk is for the life of another life lost on our roads of a horse, and that shouldn't have happened.
Right, but I'm sure you do take my point about something being hijacked and turned into, I don't know, some sort of hate fest or something like that.
I hope not, and it's not against any individually type of people whatsoever, because I'm telling you that sulky racing is all walks of life, and I'll tell you why as well, because some of these horses are worth a fortune. Some of these races, there's big money being bet on them. So, this isn't targeting any minority or whatever. This is lots of different types of people, and a lot of them are adults, and they're showing kids something. They're showing kids like, oh, loads of money to be made in this, and oh yeah, get up on there, you're 12 years of age, yep, no problem, go down that main road. That's not right. But if we made tracks or something around different counties in Ireland, maybe we can help it that way. There has to be a way, because banning completely never works, as we all know. But if we can kind of all come together and decide on other ways that this can be done safely, then maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah, because Jimmy Delaney spoke to us about that, and he's part of the travelling community, and he was saying that he has this idea for people to come together within his own community, to lobby for things like tracks, to lobby for education around horse welfare and that sort of thing. That would be a good thing, would it not?
That would be a great thing, and I would love to talk to Jimmy on that, because we're all about, I think everybody should always talk to each other. I don't think people should run, around sort of going, right, that's it, it's finished, it's over, we're done, because it doesn't happen. It just goes underground, and that's not what we want to see. I don't want to see any more kids on sulkies. That kid could have been killed as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. It's rather different in the urban setting, isn't it? Because these urban cowboys, as they're referred to, it's kind of a different culture in Dublin, is it?
No, it's urban cowboys. It's every cowboy for themselves, I think, in Dublin and in other counties. We've been down to Limerick, and it's the same thing. It's different types of people. It's different interests they have in their horses. And look, there's really great. I don't want to down everybody, and it's not fair to. There's different people, guys out there that really do love their horses, whether they're a sulky horse, a cob, whatever it is. They love them and they really look after them. But my biggest issue is horses that are roaming, horses that are left out to die. And when these guys, the horse, especially on a sulky, and if they're racing or they're just going along too fast on the road and that horse collapses, they all seem to run. Nobody owns up to owning that horse, but they sure would own up to owning the horse if it was all right and we were taking it away, or the guards were taking it away. Then they'd own up. This is the problem I have. They've all run like cowards. Stop running like cowards. You've taken on this horse. You say it's yours. Take some sort of ownership and take the guilt as well. We've had so many just run and leave that poor horse to die.
And just before I let you go, would you just address another point that Jimmy made, which is that he wonders why councillors and maybe activists like yourself would not be out protesting about the amount of horses that die on our race courses. Four died in Cheltenham, for example. I mean, do you feel as strongly about that, Martina?
I feel strongly about all horses and all animals that, to go into greyhound racing then and say that's absolutely disgraceful. It is. But our problem is I'm not seeing the race horses in Cheltenham running down the M50 or the M1 or the N7 or whatever roads there is at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I've had friends that are going to work. They work at the airport, and they've gone into work at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's a massive race. And one of my friends, his van was nearly knocked off the road. He got such a fright. We're not seeing that. And I'm saying these are the dangerous things. Why do you have to make it dangerous? Why do you have to do the run if the horse collapses? And also, a lot of this is kids are seeing this and they're like, oh, wow, I want one of these. I want a trap. We've taken the trap we took from Anne, we still have. And that's held together with cable ties, with bits of old rope. So that's not roadworthy. So these are the issues I'm having. There's so much traffic and so many terrible accidents every day in Ireland now where people are killed, that why are we allowing non-road-worthy things? No insurance, no nothing. We have so many people that have had their cars dented and wrecked and they've nobody to go to. So that's where I'm coming from.
Are the police aware of the protest walk and what... I mean, I guess they'll have to be part of this. Were they made aware of what's happening, Martina, do you think?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's the councillors that have organised and basically invited us to come, so we are going to it. And I think there's a lot of people going to attend. I don't want to see anybody feeling like, oh, well, you're just pointing the finger at us. No, we're not. We're just saying, please, let's all think about this. And mothers and fathers, you need to think about your kids that are just going around roads. And I'm not just saying only on a sulky. I've seen horses raced up a road, and a kid on the back. I just can't get over it. If I was a parent and I saw that, I'd be like, oh my God, So yes, they have told that I think Clonmel Gardaí. And I hope that it is peaceful. It's just people coming together. And this is what's needed. People want their voice out there. They want to show that they're fed up with this. In every county there's serious animal cruelty now, and this is part of animal cruelty. So maybe it's time that people have some say in it,
All right, Martina, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Martina Kenny of My Lovely Horse Rescue. News is on the way.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tip Today. I want to say hello and happy birthday to Maureen Lyons, because myself and Muriel were in Kilkenny over the weekend, and we were playing for her party, and it was just a tremendous event altogether. She's a beautiful woman, and her family really looked after her extremely well on the night, and a lovely turnout of her friends as well. And I know she's being brought to Nathan Carter this week as well, by way of still celebrating her 80th birthday. But Maureen, we wish you the very, very best indeed. Leanne is with me. Morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Fran. How are you feeling?
Ooh, what a morning it's been. Just will we start with Maggie? The response to Maggie Butler's piece was immense, wasn't it?
Oh my God. And I think what we've learned today from everybody is how important communication is.
Yeah.
And that's what's come in with Maggie. It's that stark reality. It's hearing the story as it happened. And like she said, you hear all the time, carers always want more. They're always complaining. But a lot of people were just stunned. And it really highlights, a lot of people are feeling that middle pinch at the moment with the fuel and the rising costs of living. But that's the reality all the time. So there's been a lot of people who've kind of sat back and been like, maybe I don't have it so bad. Maybe I'll get through this, because if she was able to get through it for 14 years, we'll be okay.
It broke my heart when she said that because she had to worry about services and try and organise services and go to the welfare offices, that it robbed some of the precious time with Alex. That broke my heart.
I couldn't. I was trying to hold it back, and I think anyone who knows Maggie knows that she's so lovely.
Yeah.
She's such a warm person. She came in here with a smile on her face, going through all that. And she wanted to come in and she wanted to be that advocate and communicate and share. In that probably the hardest time of her life, she is calling on counsellors and deputies to meet with her, to go to her house. She wants to use her experience to help other people. So what we've heard is so many people that are stunned and so upset to think that has been the reality for a family. And if it's been their reality, how many others are going through the same thing?
Well, absolutely. And then we get to our discussion around the protest about sulkies and stuff. I don't think I've seen in a long, long time the response that we got to that.
I was scrolling through messages and I'd go through one and another would come in and one phone was ringing and the other phone was ringing. Oh my God.
And you've been hearing from the travelling community as well.
I have, and they've been absolutely brilliant with me in this. I've learned so much that I wouldn't have known before, and so many have gotten in touch and said, a bit of communication. Let's communicate on this. One man in particular, he got in touch and he said that he wants to give Liam a call and he wants to meet with him and bring him down and show him step by step the kind of the traditions, the culture, and how he treats his horses, and that he agrees that children should not be on these sulkies, but that he wants him to come down and on the ground talk about this.
Right. Now, alongside that, in parallel to that, we've had stories that, about
so many.
How lives have been affected by sulky users and the fear that's out there about them being on the road.
And so many people won't drive certain roads because they meet them at the same time every day, and near misses. Now, a lot of them have involved children, which was a huge talking point today, is that it seems to be young children or people who just don't have the experience, young teenagers on the sulkies on their own. And there's been a lot of near misses. But the big thing that's come out of it is communication, is the fact that a lot of people said as well, fair play to Jimmy, that everyone has their own opinions, but that he came out and he spoke his side, and the same to Michael and Liam who came in, that just because we don't always agree on something doesn't mean we can't have open communication about the topics.
Yeah, just one particular message, and I think it may have come in on the phone. Could you ask Liam, why aren't councillors highlighting the big ongoing issues in the towns, like drugs and antisocial behaviour? I'm a traveller myself and I keep horses. I'm away at the moment, but I will get in contact with Liam and invite him to see my horses and where I keep them. This is not a county-wide issue, it's a Clonmel issue. I do agree no children should be on horses, and Cheltenham has a huge number of horse deaths. Jimmy and his organisation are trying to make things better. That kind of sums up some of what's been coming in from the other side.
We've heard lots about horse racing, greyhounds, which, Fran, I have to break it to you, will be coming up tomorrow, so be ready for another. So yeah, greyhound racing, coursing. It's, I suppose, a worry for a lot of people where the line will be drawn, and will it be too much change too quickly? And then on the other side, it's like, well, we've seen these issues and we want our towns and our villages to be a very safe place. And I know another man from the community rang in and said, we need a track. We need a designated area where we can carry out our traditions that isn't on the road, because a lot of these traditions, when they came about, would have been before cars were actually around. Would have been at a time where there was some cars, nowhere near as many as we have now, and where our towns and villages weren't as populated.
Interesting. So that goes on, and the march is on the 11th, isn't it?
The 11th,
of April. Leanne, thanks very much for that. If you want to talk to Leanne, it's 1800 938 007. Now, this week on the show, we're asking listeners what they love about Ireland and why they choose to stay here. And a great friend to the show over the years, Joe Noble, joins me now. Good morning to you, Joe.
Oh, Jesus Christ, hold on. Yeah, well, hello. Well, Fran, how are you?
Hello, Joe, how are you?
I was in the World of Muireann there, polishing shells.
Polishing shells. Listen, before I ask you about what you like about this country, I saw your message while I was speaking to the Taoiseach the other day. You were not happy, you were not impressed, Joe.
I was not happy with him. Who the hell would be happy with what he came out with? I mean, it was €38 a week for the fuel allowance, right, for people.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's doing him a massive favour. He's letting it go on for another 4 weeks or
He's
something.
extending it for 4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, big fucking deal. What about all the money they spent going over to America with the bowl of weeds and all the other fellas that went all over the country as well? You know, I mean, he talks about tightening belts. He talks about saving, you know, this, that and the other because the winter is coming in. And I listened to him and, oh, my God, I'd love to have got at him. But anyway.
Yeah, you got very cross. And then, of course, you went to put it up on social media and that completely blew up for you.
Yeah.
Did it? Yeah.
Well, take it like, you know, I call a spade, friend. You know me.
Sure.
If I have something to say, I'll say it.
Yeah.
And
but a lot of people were agreeing with you, Joe. A lot of people.
Well, well, in fairness, friend, he talked a load of crap. I mean, I have oil. That's the only form of heating I have.
Yeah.
Right, is the oil here. And I get the 2 lump sums. The reason I changed it to 2 lump sums was as soon as I get it, it goes into the oil tank.
Right.
And so he's given me, for the 4 weeks, €152. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't let my oil tank run down because I couldn't afford to top it up from scratch.
Yeah, sure.
So I top it up every so often. Now, the last time I topped it up in February, I only had to put in 200 and something. Well, that 200 and something is going to be at least 400 and something this time.
Yeah, and they can't intervene where home heating oil is concerned because of European directives.
That's a shite.
You don't accept that, Joe, I gather, no?
I don't accept anything. Them lads, friend, they can go out and they can spend money and do whatever the hell they like. They built a bloody bicycle shed above, for what? It didn't even look like a shed. But anyway, you know, they waste money themselves. I would dearly love to get them flipping apeheads up there to live on the normally Joe soap. I feel sorry for young families, young couples with children, and how they are coping. I honest to God don't know. I'm on my own, so look, there's no fear of it. But it's just, I'd love to see them lads up there in the Dáil having to live on what a family of a low-income family is living on. Yeah. And we say put a ban on their bank accounts that they can't sneak into it, and let them live for about 6 months. And see then, they just have no idea. I mean, they give you €10 in the budget, and they say that's bringing us up to the cost of living. Cost of living, me eye. €10 now to only buy milk and a loaf of bread. And that's bringing people up to the cost of living.
I think you might have heard Maggie Butler on this morning as well, a carer, and to see how they struggle with their families, you know.
Yes, they do. And I have a little girl coming to me too on a Tuesday, we'll say now. Yeah. And I mean, it's scandalous the way they're treated. Yeah. Absolutely scandalous. I mean, God Almighty tonight. If it wasn't for those people, those carers. Looking after whoever, I looked after my own mother. Well, there was nothing there that time when I was looking after Mammy for 6 years. There was no help whatsoever. But if it wasn't for the likes of the little girl that comes to me and other ones, all carers will say, where would the ones in the offices be? Where would all them be? They wouldn't have a bloody job. So why can't they treat their carers with a little bit more respect?
And so say all of us. And on a happier note, what about things you like about this country? What about stuff that you think is unique to us, Joe? Do you have to mine deeply to come up with something on that for me?
Well, to be honest with you, friend, I'm not a very negative person. Okay, this morning I was listening to that lovely woman on your show. Yeah. God love her, my heart broke for her. But, you know, Leanne said the right thing when she came on. There is always somebody worse off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That people would say, like with my stupid old complaints and what have you, like, but it's nothing compared. It's Mickey Mouse compared to what other people are going through. So you have to try and think positive. Regardless, when you wake up in the morning, if you start thinking negative, bring in negativity into your life, then you're banjaxed.
And I know you were saying to Leanne that when you speak about personal happiness and stuff, you have to look to the past to some degree and to childhood and stuff. Is that right, Jo?
I do. The Ireland of long ago, a friend, was a much happier. We had nothing, but we were very happy. We lived on very little, and the neighbours were also friendly. It was a different Ireland back then, totally different. But it's not Ireland. It's not the countries, Fran. It's the gumshites that's in it.
Yeah. And
that's what makes the world, wrong. It's not the world.
And these are the decision makers you're talking about, is it? The quality of the decision makers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. They have no clue of what people are going through. Not a clue, because they don't have to go through it. They don't even have to put diesel in their flipping cars because they'll get driven from A to B in their chauffeur cars, won't they? So now I don't drive, but I feel sorry for people that do. It's just, I was talking to my son this morning, and he was saying he filled up his van. Now he owns his van, which is for work, we'll say. And he said, what was costing me a lot less, ma'am, he said, cost me €120 this time.
Wow.
And he said that's for the week.
So what you're saying to me is it hard to be happy here at the moment then? Is that what you're saying to me, Jo?
I'm happy.
Are you?
But I'm just trying to put myself in other people's situations.
Shoes. Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course it makes sense.
Very little makes me happy, Fran. I go out and deadhead me flowers, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean?
That's lovely, though. I think that's great. Yeah.
Well, I don't like... I could sit here, today.
Yeah.
And I could start thinking, oh, God, I need this, or I want that, or I must... And, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I don't. If I ever feel myself going down that road, I go out and I do my flowers. Well, if it's not raining, and I go out and I'll do the flowers. I'll put on my coat. I'll go for a stroll up to town. You'll always bump into somebody to have an old nat or two, even if it's only for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I cheer myself up. Put it that way.
Well, well, you certainly cheer us up, Jo. That's for certain.
I don't know. I'm not kind of very cheerful this morning because I was so down listening to that poor woman.
I know.
Lord save us.
Well,
but no, you have to get up and go, friend. You have to. You can't sit and wallow in your own problems and pity.
Your own difficulties. Well, yes. you're certainly an example of somebody who doesn't do that. Jo, a real pleasure, and you look after yourself, Dota, and thank you for coming on with me.
Yeah, I'll try, sure, friend. I'll try.
Bye-bye, Jo. Bye-bye, Dose. Bye-bye.
Okay, friend. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
That's lovely Joe Noble there in Templemore. Now, let it be joined. Martin Brown is going to join in this conversation with us as well. Martin, good morning to you.
Morning, Fran, and good morning to your listeners.
I want to keep it kind of light, but I have to ask you about the cost of living because everybody's bringing it up this morning, Martin, and we heard from Maggie Butler in the first hour of the programme about how difficult it is for carers and stuff out there. Are you hearing that from people all the time?
We're hearing it right across the board, Fran. I don't know where Simon Harris is coming from, and we're a rich country, and I've said this to you before. The likes of carers like Maggie and they saved this country 20 billion, and governments themselves recognise that. To be so penny pension, and the example that Maggie gave actually earlier, that a family she knows has been told to cut back on electricity when they have a special needs child and a ventilator.
That was incredible.
How crazy or how far gone are we that that's happening to families like Maggie's and others?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what it says about us, but anyway, hopefully it started a decent conversation.
Yeah, the only thing about it, Fran, is I suppose this is one of the privileges that I've had in my life, is that I've met the likes of Maggie, Vera, Toomey, Cara Dermody. We have a country of hundreds of thousands of people like that advocates for different people, and that's one of the strengths we have in this country. People in our communities like that will come and give their stories like Maggie did this morning. And listen, we just hope that it sinks in eventually. I've always said to people, you keep drumming it into people on a continuous basis, and eventually things change. Hopefully for families like Maggie, what they went through for the 14 years with young Alex, rest his soul, and others, that there's less and less of them kind of struggles families have to put up with.
On a lighter note, Martin, we asked you to ponder on what you think is unique about us and what you like about us. And you think the fact that we can have a bit of a laugh at our own expense, Martin, is that it?
Right. Yeah, look, I suppose that's one of the biggest strengths we have as a nation, Fran, is that we can actually have the crack. And just listen to Joe there, Johnny Luby on the Fridays, the amount of people that just sits at the radio every Friday to listen to Johnny. We've Mary Noble. You'd have him on your programme, and they'd be on every programme all around the country. While bringing up stuff everyday life, we're able to have that fun, to have that crack. Look, we've gorgeous scenery all around this country, friend. You go up the Wide Atlantic Way, come down here to Tipperary, start at Holy Cross, come into Cashel, Brown on the Nose, Folk Village, Tassel Abbey, the Glenaralo. We have stuff in this country that is unbelievable, and you will not find any place else in the world. And we don't probably put it out there enough.
Well, I know that shows. I didn't. I mean, as you know, I was brought up there in the shadow of the Rock of Cashel, Martin. But I didn't fully appreciate the Rock of Cashel until a band came and stayed with me one time, and they went up to visit, and they came down and they had stories about it, and they were all agog about it. But you know, when it's on our doorsteps, sometimes we don't appreciate it.
That's the problem, Fran. I'm in Cashel since '89, and I'd say probably 5 times is all I've gone into the Rock since then, right on our doorstep. I can look out my daughter's kitchen window and it's there right in front of us. I've been in Bunratty Castle and them places more than I've been in the Rock. But we still have it, and that's what draws people to this country. And I think if we actually sell our country more, Clowny Lakes, Donegal, all these places, we can benefit big time. And you know yourself from people talking to them, to the communities we have, the way communities band together, especially under hard times. We see it all around the country when a tragedy would happen. Communities come together. That is one of the biggest strengths we have in this country, and that's one of the reasons I love this country. I thought about it in the early 80s, maybe going, but no, I never went. And never regretted it.
Oh, did you contemplate it at one stage, Martin?
I contemplated it at one stage in the early 80s. An uncle in England wanted me to go over when things were tough here. I had been working with Dwyer Steel in Dundrum there, and I just never went, Fran. And it's I never regretted for one day. I'm glad that my own 4 lads have never had to do the same either. Because, like I said, I think the community we have in this country and the people we have in this country far outweighs any benefits of going away to London, like I had thought at that time. And I've had the privilege of, like I said, some of the people that I've named there, but there has been thousands down through the years, friends here in Cashel, and met friends all around the country, that just could not be replaced.
Yeah, that's great. A great take on it, that's for sure. Martin, good to talk to you today, and thanks for coming on with us. Thank you, and good morning to you. This is Martin Brown there. Martin, of course, former Sinn Féin deputy. 1800 938 007.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Well, singer and broadcaster Muireann Nic Amhlaoibh is coming to the Nenagh Arts Centre on the 11th of April. She'll be joined by wonderful, wonderful musicians. Jerry O'Byrne will be there on guitar and Donal O'Connor on fiddle and keyboard. And I'm delighted to say that Muireann joins me now. Good morning to you, Muireann.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm well, and lovely to talk to you today. We were feasting on your music earlier on this morning, and there's so much beautiful stuff there.
Thank you.
You will be most familiar to people in Tipperary and Waterford from your time with the wonderful band Danu. I think, was it 13 or 14 years you were with them?
13 years. I gave them my youth, Fran. And it was wonderful. We toured the world. You know, at one point we were doing 200 shows a year.
Wow.
It was just crazy times, but great times and amazing experiences. You know, great way to see the world and learn your craft, of course. You know, when you're up on stage night after night like that, just amazing. Yeah,
fantastic. And of course, you play flute as well, so you were a part of the band from an instrumental point of view too.
Yes, but you know, they were so accomplished.
Yeah.
Like, they were a few years older than me, well established when I joined the band, and I was literally just out of college, and I was so nervous that, like, there was no hiding the singing. I had to sing, but like, I actually mimed the first few songs. But I got there in the end. I was used to polkas and slides from West Kerry, you know, and they were playing reels and breakneck speed. But we got there.
Very good. Well, Benny McCarthy has been telling me for years he's only a young fella, so wait till I go back to him now and repeat what you said.
It's all relative, Fran.
Take me back to West Kerry and that wonderful tradition, though, because that's where it all began for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just didn't realise it at the time, Fran, but I was just so fortunate. I grew up in a time, I suppose, when there was the end of one era and the beginning of another. So, you know, the 80s in Ireland, when things were moving ahead and, you know, suddenly at breakneck speed come the 90s. But in the parish where I grew up in Doongheen, there were Blasket Islanders who'd been settled onto the mainland in the 50s. So they were all elderly. And they were just amazing neighbours. They had a wealth of music and story and song. And these are the people that I would have played with, along with my father, of course, and I would have met them regularly on my way to school in the morning and walking home. And it's very much that music that I still perform primarily, especially songs in the Irish language.
Yes.
You know, it was a gift, and I absorbed it like kids do. You know, you don't realise you're learning.
Of course, yeah. And I know that sean-nós is extremely important to you. I go so far as to say sean-nós is our duende. You know what the Spanish say about the soul of their music, and I really believe that about sean-nós.
Or the flamenco or the fado singing. It is, absolutely. But I think sometimes the word sean-nós can be kind of misconstrued or maybe considered to be limited to big, long,
yes, of course. 99 verses, as my grandmother used to say.
Well, as Seamus Begley used to say to me, 4 verses is enough for anyone. But, you know, there's a wide variety of sean-nós. The sean-nós literally just means old style. So the older people wouldn't even use the word sean-nós. They just called it singing. And equally, they would have sung a country song or a crooner song or something alongside with it. There was a very open relationship with music and singing where I grew up. And a lot of
Seamus Begley is a great example of that, the way he could deal with other genres of music, and beautifully so as well. Yeah.
And beautifully so. Yeah. And Seamus was, I suppose, apart from my father, my greatest musical mentor, from whom I got the majority of my songs. And, you know, we used to do gigs together around the country, and he used to call me the set lister. So I'd be writing out the plan for the night, you see, and he'd be looking at me with a twinkle in his eye, and then he'd get up on the stage, and we might get through the first or second number, and then he'd pick up the set list and rip it up in front of my eyes, and he'd call out to the audience, any requests? And we'd just have to wing it.
It's lovely, isn't it? The elements of sean-nós that you bring, though, to even contemporary song is very interesting. All that lovely grace notes and all of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a sound, I suppose, that you can't get away from, even when you do explore other music. And, you know, we are a product of our times now, and we can hear every type of music is at our fingertips. Yeah. And sometimes that's a great thing, but in other ways it can be overwhelming, and it can be hard to kind of pin down who are you in the midst of all this, and what do you want to sound like, or what are you trying to express. But when you are just completely immersed in it growing up, I suppose that does become your sound inadvertently. And I suppose I'm carrying that forward. No matter what type of song I'm singing, there is that sound there, like, yeah.
And a very beautiful sound it is as well. Now, you're working with Jerry and Donal, and I mean, they're just marvellous musicians, and I'm sure you make an incredible sound together, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we're very good friends, and it's just a joy for me to play with them. I've actually been playing with Jerry since I was 19 years of age when he moved to the Dingle Peninsula. And then Donal and I go back a long, long ways as well. Not as long as that, but our fathers used to play music together. My father, Fergal, was a fiddler. And then Donal's mom was one of my favourite singers, Etna Niulachan, wonderful traditional singer as well. So there's a great understanding there between the three of us. And people might be aware of some of Jerry's songs as well. He's a great songwriter. He wrote The Holy Ground and The Shades of Gloria, and songs covered by Mary Black and Maura O'Connell. And he was in that amazing group Midnight Well.
Yes, marvellous. Yeah.
So, you know, they're great. And do you know what else they are? They're old dogs for the road. So, you know, you have to really pick. It's not just musical talent, but the personalities that you can go on the road with.
God, absolutely. It's so important, isn't it? How will you draw from your canon of music for Nenagh Arts Centre? What about the content, Muireann?
Well, what I love to do, I suppose, is share a lovely warm evening with people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like to take people on a journey. And again, I don't like the idea of traditional singing or shannon singing or Irish music to be pigeonholed into one particular kind of vibe or type of song. It's certainly not going to be all murder ballads. I mean, there will be sad songs there as well, but then there's, you know, lots of uplifting music and even children's songs and dance tunes and like the old sessions of long ago that I grew up playing in with my dad and with Seamus. Yes, there was loads of music, but there was always singing in between the instrumental pieces. There was humour, and then there'd be a cueness or a bit of quiet for a slow song, and then back maybe into a waltz. Like there has to be that whole broad spectrum for me to feel that I've given people a proper night of Irish music, and that's what I try to do every time. And it's very informal, you know. We keep it relaxed.
I heard a lovely conversation between yourself and John Spillane, and you were talking about the content of some of the songs you'd be singing off Gaeilge, and you were making the point that some of them were extremely political.
Yes, and you know what they are is, I suppose, a marker of the times that they were written in.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because you know, a lot of people use songs as a way to preserve memories of people's or events of things that happened. And when you think about it in the context of there not being that many people who were maybe literate, not that many people who were reading and writing, certainly no internet, certainly no Facebook or anything. These were ways of preserving memory, of marking things, and of making sure that story wasn't forgotten.
So the bardic tradition, I suppose, Muireann.
Yes. And you know, when I'm singing the older songs especially, I can't help but think of all the other people that sang those songs before me, and the people for whom they were written, or the people that wrote them, and what were they thinking. And it's almost like I can imagine the echoes of them through the song as I'm singing it. You know, you kind of just feel like you're passing it on, you're carrying it forward. The songs have a life of their own, which is wonderful. It's
a lovely way to think of it, indeed. You're doing a lot of radio and television and as such. Do you enjoy that as well as the singing? Does that work in parallel with you being an artist?
Well, thankfully it does. You know, I'm very, very happy as long as I'm dealing anything to do with music, dealing with anything to do with music. And I absolutely love platforming new artists, discovering new music, and I love, I suppose, introducing audiences to some of the older artists that I mightn't have heard before as well. It keeps my finger on the pulse, and in a way it makes me be able to perform in as much as is viable for me in a way that I can raise a family as well. Otherwise I'd have to be out all the time, because, not to put too fine a point on it, the music industry is broken. And
do you really believe that, Muireann? It's broken.
I do, I do. It's broken at the moment. It's absolutely broken. It's on its knees. And this is not me putting on the poor mouth, because, you know, I diversify and I'm getting around it, and no more than everyone else has had to as well. But, you know, streaming, costs of touring, everything, cost of fuel, insurance, everything. It's just people are practically paying to play, but we are definitely playing because we love it, and a lot of us have to do it. It's not a hobby for me, it's my passion, it's my vocation, but I have to find ways in order to be able to keep doing it so that I can keep doing what I love.
Well, the best way for people to buy into that is to turn up at Nenagh Arts Centre on the 11th of April. Tickets are on sale, I know. Where can people get hold of tickets, Muireann?
You can get tickets from the Nenagh Arts Centre website or from my own website, which is muireann.ie, and if you just go to the tour page on the website, the ticket link is there as well. And it's our first time in Nenagh, so I'm looking forward to it. I know it's a great town for music.
Oh, it's a beautiful town, and it's a lovely theatre as well. Lovely atmosphere. And 067 34400, by the way, if you want to talk to them at Nenagh Arts Centre. I know they'll look after you by phone as well. It's a real pleasure. I love your music, and we're going to treat people at the moment. Will you introduce Breed Og for me? Will you tell us about this? I'm going to play this.
I will. Gurmila Mahagat Fran. So this song, Breed Og Nivala, is actually with the three-piece that are playing in Nenagh Arts Centre. And it's an old song. It's actually from the oral tradition, and that's where Donald comes from. He's from County Louth. So this would be a song from outside of West Kerry, but it's one of those beautiful love songs that has been sung all over the country. Such is its attractiveness, I suppose. And a lot of people would be familiar with this song as well if they had ever gone to the Gaeltacht, you know. Sure. As students, it would be maybe one that they learned, but I just adore the melody of this as well, and you'll hear what the lads do with it. They make it really special.
Well, wait till people hear the beautiful voice of Muireann as well. It's a real pleasure. I love your music, and I would highly recommend the gig to people of Tipperary. I'm sure you'll get a great welcome indeed. Muireann, Gurmila Mahagat, Muireann.
Gurmila Mahagat, Safran. Take care and thank you.
Slán, that's Muireann Nic Amhlaoibh speaking to us. Have a listen to this. Sit back and what is it? It's about 4.5 minutes or so. Allow yourself to enjoy this.
Shach is his bronach, a chahem shen gaunach. Ma hadam varnom, smegas nil getraum, smegar gen boire, gmien magrosa Sieg farvel posta is gani velu Se vrido ni vole så dag magri krote Khir sharing of wash Tichert Dag tu barbrachtat hirirja mas
That's 4.5 minutes of excellence brought to you there from Muireann Nic Amhlaoibh. Just beautiful, beautiful voice indeed. And of course, what can I say about Jerry O'Byrne on the guitar there, and Donald O'Connor as well on keyboards and on fiddles as well. Just marvellous stuff. Anyway, if you want to enjoy that live, it's the 11th of April, and I would highly recommend it to you. My old friend Penny Downey was on to say, great to hear Muireann on Tipp FM, one of our best female artists indeed, and several people on to us to wish her the very, very best of luck indeed. All right, we'll take a break. Back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
Women in Ireland faced longer diagnostic delays than men, with 56% of women aged between 25 and 44 reporting they felt dismissed at least once when raising health concerns with a doctor. Well, a regular contributor to the show over the years, Christine, joins me now. Christine, good morning to you.
Good morning, friend. How are you?
It's good to talk to you again, Christine. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not really, friend, because an awful lot of females that go to doctors are dismissed and not taken seriously over their health, me being one of them, like. So it's very, you don't realise they're going through it until you look back and you're like, you are dismissed, like, you know.
Why is that the case, Christine, do you think?
It's just, I don't know, an awful lot of this is put down to, like, being a female in general. If you have, like, migraines, are you due your time of the month, or, do you know, back pains, that's due to the time of the month, or, do you know, like, everything is, like, because you're a woman and you get a period, that it's, could be related to that. That's number one cause for, like, most women's problems. Like, you can't sleep, you're sick, you're off your food. Sure, they're all symptoms. Like, they're also symptoms of other illnesses, like.
And even if you get annoyed and have a difference of opinion with somebody, that's brought up in that case as well, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. Especially even with, like, in relationships with partners and everything. Like, you'd be complaining of something, but sure, your time of the month is you on, or you're having a bad day, you can't be depressed, but sure, you're depressed because you're a female. Or, do you know, like, and you could genuinely have a really bad period and not being able to get up and do things, and you're told, like, you can't be out of work or anything. Like, it's awful. It's absolutely awful, like.
Yeah, we were speaking about endometriosis over the last couple of days as well, and you know, it seems to be very hard to get diagnosis or get diagnosed
very
properly
hard, yeah.
and quickly. Is that an issue you would have come across, Christine?
I don't have endometriosis. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome is what I have.
Sure, but I meant in terms of getting an answer and getting a diagnosis.
Oh, yes, yeah. It's very, very, very hard to get. Even, like, now I'm very lucky with my GP. Like, you know, I have a good relationship with her, but I like, she's very good to listen to me because I'm very outspoken, friend. I'm not one to be ignored.
Never, Christine.
But,
never.
But there is people out there that are shy about going to the doctors, and they're hard. They can be I don't feel comfortable now talking like that to a doctor or something But whereas I would just go in, I'd be I couldn't. Excuse me, I had a miscarriage 3 years ago. And I couldn't fall pregnant for ages, and I gave up trying. I was like, you know what, I'm not doing it anymore, and I'm actually currently 21 weeks pregnant now. So,
fantastic.
It was an absolute miracle. But like that, there was no I was so young, and it was why can't a young healthy woman hold a pregnancy? That's not normal. So there was an investigation done into it, but I had to fight for the investigation, And I gave up. I gave up the fight in the end when I was being ignored. And then at Christmas time, I found out that I was very much pregnant.
I love that term. I was very much pregnant. I love that.
I thought, friend, I had alcohol poisoning because I don't actually take a drink too often. And pregnancy didn't cross my mind. I was at my doctor's, and I was like that. I went to my doctor's fully convinced I had alcohol poisoning. Had my urine sent off to a lab. She's like, no, your urine's clean. I was like, I only had a few vodkas. I was like, surely to God, that wouldn't, she's like, you're getting old now. I was like, I'm only nearly 30, But no, turns out that I was pregnant, so I was like, oh my God, I was very worried then over it. Obviously consuming alcohol at Christmas, but yeah, no, but I was okay, thank God.
But you're well and you're healthy now, Christine, aren't you? Everything's fine.
I was not expecting to go home and tell my partner that I was pregnant. We both thought I was gone to the hospital with alcohol poisoning, but no, I came home pregnant.
That's very good.
It was a shock.
That's very good indeed. And do you think, is it important for women to have female doctors? Do you think that's important?
Well, my personal experience, I feel like a female would understand you better, but that's not discrediting. I have a male doctor in Newport for years, and he's absolutely fantastic. He's very, very good doctor. But in saying that, a male, not discouraging any male out there in the country with a medical degree, but trying to explain to a male, how bad a period cramp is, or how bad it feels to be a woman with polycystic ovarian syndrome and having cramps and not being able to go through all these things. They can't understand you, friend. They're not.
Of course, of course.
They can do their best, but you say to a female, I feel like I'm going to fall down with the pain that I have on my side over having your period, and they completely understand that feeling.
A man could never understand that, Christine. I can tell you that now.
No. And if I told you what some of the references were to childbirth in relation to males recently when it's brought up in conversation, Fran, you'd be horrified.
I can imagine, My favourite one about childbirth from a male perspective is Billy Connolly, who said it wasn't a spectator sport when he was asked did he attend the pregnancy, but there you go. What did you mean as well when you said to Leanne that condoms are free, but women's sanitary products are not? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, my partner and me had this conversation, and I think it's absolutely diabolical that the price. I was pricing stuff for my hospital bag. I'm a female. I'm going in to have a baby. I'm going to be bleeding after it. The price of women's sanitary products, good ones, you can't just go in and buy own shop brand products. You have to get good branded products. And they're disposable, so they're going to go in the bin. It's not as if you're going to keep the bloody things, but you can go in there to a shop or a clinic or anything and get free condoms. There'll be free condoms available to men out there. They're in bathroom stalls and stuff like that and the other. It is so much harder to get tampons and pads for free when condoms are by the dozen for free. Condoms, yes, by all means necessary. They're very, very good, but they're actually, you don't need a condom. You cannot go without a sanitary towel or a tampon or a cup or whatever you want to use, whatever females use. You cannot go without them. And I think it's absolutely disgraceful that they are so costly because you have to buy them. You cannot go without them, and the price of them is diabolical.
Yeah, and we're hearing an awful lot lately about sanitary product poverty, if you know what I mean, that the women just can't afford.
Well, Fran, at Christmas time now, I not so much. I didn't do it this past year because I was in a state of shock of finding out I was pregnant. But over the years and stuff like that, when you see people begging and homeless people and stuff like that, if it's a female, I'd go in, I'd get a drink, a bottle of Lucozade or a sandwich, and maybe a packet of pads or something, and I bring it out and I give it to the person sitting on the path, and I'd be like, look, I haven't any money to give you, but I have my phone, I can tap my cards. I don't like giving homeless people money. I prefer to go in and actually buy them something to eat.
Yeah,
that's just me, it's who I am.
Yeah.
And I kind of like doing that because that poor woman sitting there, and addiction is an awful thing. If she wants to spend her money on drink or drugs or whatever her choice of spending her money is on, she's going to do that, and she's going to go without. And it's not fair. She's a female. She should be entitled to free sanitary products. You should be given so many a month free. I'm not saying go in and fill up your shopping carts and get them all for free, but you should be, as a female, when you come into the age of puberty, you should be entitled to so many, say 2 packs of period products free a month. That's something that really should be pushed for, especially in this day and age with the cost of living. Because you add them into your shopping cart for 16 pads, it's 20-something euro online.
Is it indeed? You see, this is another
and
thing that men haven't a clue about. I didn't know the cost involved.
Yeah, when I was showing my partner, he was like, what, 20? I was like, yeah, that's the price of them. And you're men are out there and they get free condoms, and it's just do you know, make it make sense to me, because by all means, like I said, condoms are fantastic to use, better for some people than others to prevent pregnancy and STDs and what have you. But women need female products, and you should be given so many a month free, and not exactly ones that you're going to leak through or something. The ones that are on the shelf right now, you should be entitled to so many of them, and it shouldn't just be to medical card holders or anything like that. It should be across the board. You're a female, you're entitled to 2 packs a month free. For you go in and every month and apply for them online or something like that, because it's really not fair that it's not free anymore. It's not free to females, but males can get condoms for free.
Was there not a conversation a couple of years ago about doing something about this? But it obviously hasn't come to fruition anyway. They're not free.
Because the government don't want to lose out in their pocket, friend. That's all that's wrong with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the price of them are it's robbery, and you have no other option but to buy them. And if you buy cheap, they're going to leak, and you're going to be down the cost of underwear. You're going to be down the cost of your pants you've on you. So you have to buy good sanitary products so you don't have a leakage. And who wants to have a leakage if there's a child sitting in school? I remember in school myself as a teenager, leaking through my uniform, and I was so embarrassed. I was afraid to get off the chair. Because there's so many males in my class. And thinking back, I was like, it's such a natural thing to happen. I was so afraid. I was so nervous, and to put anyone in that situation is horrible. I wouldn't want, that's why I buy good products, because you don't want the leakage.
Well,
so it's not fair.
Christine, as always, very eloquent on whatever it is that you talk to me about. You look after. I'm glad your health is well anyway, Christine, and stay away from the drink,
Fran,
whatever you do. Bye-bye, Christine.
Take care, Fran. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's it from me. Leanne produced. Stevenson's on the way with the Time Tunnel. We will talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves in the meantime, won't you? Bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.